This is Naoki Yoshida,
This is Fern Hall.
and you are listening to Aetheryte Radio.
Aetheryte Radio.
Here we go.
Hello, and welcome to the internet podcast, Aetheryte Radio.
What is this
We are-
opening?
We are Gamer Escape's Final Fantasy XIV podcast, the fantastic MMO, which now includes a free trial up to level 60 and includes the award-winning expansion Heavensward. I'm Fusion X. Joining me today, Alito's like, "What's he doing? I don't know what's gonna happen next."
I don't know where we're going. Are we inside the actors' studio? Is
Yeah,
it
really-
Masterpiece Theater?
Joining me today, we
You
have
gotta really lean into it.
we
Yeah,
have
yeah,
a
yeah.
woman who is not a prescription drug, Zenadra.
How
We
dare
have
you, sir.
oh god, this is hard.
Don't do it.
The French version of Aldi,
There you
Aldi-
go. That's right.
and a woman whose favorite game is checkers, Rook.
Oh my gosh.
Checkers. Oh.
How did you know?
I just,
told
well, I
you?
mean, you don't know how to play chess, so I figured then
No,
by
yeah.
Oh,
elimination.
I see.
No, I can play
What?
like the
Oh, this is
dumb
some
man's
chess
chess.
shaming.
See, I was
Okay,
trying to
that's
be
right.
good and not just say it because I knew like we'd get
But you
at
know
least
where all
one,
the
like-
pieces go, right? You know, like when you pick up the horse guy, he does like a L.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I definitely know that for sure.
Hey.
With the
Oh,
little
no.
ones that have the little dot on top that look like lowercase i's pawns, don't they go diagonal? No, that's knights. No,
Wow.
I don't know.
Oh
No,
no.
Zen?
My world is
can't-
shattered right now.
I literally don't know how to play chess.
Look,
But I
we
do
don't-
know how to play video games.
Look, we
Yeah, that's all that matters. Never mind, I'm fine.
We invented new games. Screw chess. We've got video games now.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
have
yeah,
better
yeah.
games now than
We have like video game chess.
Right.
Yeah.
At the
Yeah.
very least. And then I won't need to remember it because it'll tell me where I can go.
Yeah, you can't
say,
move
"No, you
that
can't
there.
go
Why
there."
would you think that goes there? That doesn't.
Yeah.
No. That
Look, I
just
need
can't move
tooltips
that
in real
way.
life, all right?
Would you learn how to
Yeah.
play chess if all of the little pieces were birds?
I mean, I do like custom chess sets. I think the
Mhm.
aesthetic is strong. I don't know why I haven't learned how to play chess. I think it's just because there's been so many other things that I just
Yeah,
would
you have other
rather
stuff to do.
play on a daily basis.
That's fair.
But
That's fair.
As I say this, you guys watching saw them like one above the other, kind of tilt heads opposite. But on my screen, Charles and Fusion are right next to each other, so their heads went whoop.
We need to do it the opposite way. We'll just do fusion. Huh? Just like
Yeah, I don't know.
it doesn't work though
Yeah.
because
Do
on
your
the stream
fingers.
we're stacked. So I'd have to go like this, and then he'd have to like reach up, over, other way,
yeah, yeah.
other way, a little up.
Take us on a journey
Ah!
for
I don't
all of
know.
our audio,
This is
all
too
of our
bad.
audio listeners
Why are we
to
doing
really
it? I don't
enjoy.
know.
I don't
Why
know.
are we? What is this? What even? What even?
Off to a good start. Did you know there was a live
Welcome.
letter?
Welcome to the
Yeah,
podcast
what's a
that
live
doesn't
letter?
suffer at all in the audio version. So today, we have the live letter part LXIII 63.
63.
I'm so
63.
excited. This was such a good live letter. This
It
was
was.
such a good live letter.
So
The trailer alone,
Yes.
man, I'm losing it.
Guys,
Mhm.
we predicted Tiamat accidentally bullshitting. We
Did
have to
we?
bullshit all of the time. yes.
I honestly I don't even remember.
We
if
did.
I
We were
remember.
like, the end of this is going to be about moms. And what mom have we not touched on yet? Tiamat.
Yep.
I remember we also talked a little bit about like Dravania and
Mhm.
or you know the dragons in general and
Yeah.
everything else beyond that. So I was so excited. I mean, there's just so many things that look like very exciting. Plus, we have all the apparently lunar primals as
Yeah.
well, which looks
It's-
like maybe the bosses
right.
in our dungeon or like.
So it's
man.
it's really interesting going through like the last I don't know, like third or fourth of the trailer because you're like,
Mhm.
all right, so if Lunar Bahamut wasn't enough, we'll have Lunar Odin.
Yeah. it looks
What?
like.
Why Odin? Okay.
This is a
Okay.
personal dream of mine, and I am so excited about it. I have always loved the Odin aesthetic, the Odin
Yep.
fight, And it
Yeah.
seems like of all the sort of primals, because he was kind of a bonus primal, he's something that a lot of people haven't even done.
But he's
like
also
people will
like
discover him.
a sword.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
He's
And-
an elder primal.
Can I just take another second here about other things we predicted? Aldiano, I think you are on the right path with your idea about like Soul Eater or like that
Oh,
being
sure.
this sort of class, because that shot with Xenos and all of the weapons around him where he says like, I'll be here eating souls just like a little snack at midnight because I'm hungry. I sat there like, oh my God, Aldiano is totally spot on about this, I
Because
think.
when I heard Samurai, I thought the old katana skills from like Final Fantasy Tactics, where you evoke the soul of a weapon and it does something, and I have always wanted that to be in the game.
It's almost like the people that were like upset about Dark Knight being a tank. They're like, okay, here's like the Dark Knight class. So we'll give the great sword to the tank. We'll give the scythe to the DPS. So yeah,
super excited.
Lunar Odin. We had Lunar Ravana.
Yeah.
And Lunar Ifrit. Like, okay, and if that's not enough, Lunar Bahamut upsets Tiamat so much that she's like, I was thinking I would just, do this self-imprisonment thing forever. But no, I'm gonna go fight this bitch.
Yep.
Well, but it makes perfect sense though.
So
You know what I
It's so romantic.
It's so good because she put herself, I mean, granted, obviously the Alligans and everything, all of that played a role in this, but like she herself has sort of chosen to stay in this self-exile because she loved Bahamut. She thought that she was doing something to help and to like, empower him and bring him back after this loss, only to have the calamity happen. So for her, she's been there. And to have something like Lunar Bahamut come back and her to not do anything just would not make sense. It's so good to see them tie that in. And that shot that we saw, I think it looked almost like Estinian was sort of talking to her, which as well for him could be kind of like coming full circle with
Estinian is going to be our new trust. So we know he's going to be around now, which is...
Yeah, but I just was so excited to see that because, again, they're just showing that they use those narrative threads that they've put in the game that are so fantastic, and it's not like they just abandon them, It's drawing it back in, and it also gave me a lot of hope for seeing dragons, which we really didn't have any, big hint of, I don't think, but actually seeing dragons as maybe being a player in what's happening here in the sort of Endwalker end of this story arc.
With them reaching out and just grabbing Tiamat for this patch, we're totally getting Midgardstormer back in Endwalker.
At some point.
We have to. We have to.
It's the end of the world, right? The world's going to end. The dragons have to help. Like, they don't want that to... I mean, I'm sure they could just pack up
It's
and leave.
already happened. They found this new place. They like this new place, and they don't want to go
tried
again.
to help you. You guys are messing it up. We're gonna pack our bags. We're moving to Florida. We're done with this. We're gonna retire.
Star Florida.
Snow Wyvern.
Star Florida. Oh gosh, what else was in the? It's just there's a lot of stuff. Fordola.
Fordola and the Summoners,
back.
right?
Yeah.
Fordola just being like, "Do you know how dumb you are?"
Yeah.
She like pushes Alphino.
Yes.
She's just like,
you're dumb.
I did love her speech as well.
Yeah.
That little bit that she gives about like what it means to be a hero. And I think it's so powerful coming from her because although she's never been a hero, right? Like obviously she was a villain for us in the series. In a lot of ways, because she was trying to prove herself to the Garlean regime, we've seen her as a character be motivated by the idea of combat, physical strength, enhancement, all of these things that she thought would earn her a place of respect in the world, which in many ways is very similar to being a hero. It's just that she was trying to do it under this regime of the Garlean Empire. And so to have her then have this like growth where she's gone through this journey and she's realized that maybe, a lot of the people that were actually heroes, even in something like, the invasion of her homeland, were probably the common people or people who kept their spirits alive or all these different things that were heroes in a way that wasn't combat related. And I was just like,
yes,
this is character growth. Like, it's so good. And I really hope she doesn't die. I've already seen a lot of people like, please don't let her die. And then there was one shot of Alice that also looks like she could be dying. And I was like, please don't kill any of my
I
girls.
had that
We've
thought
too
with
many
there's like
die."
that kind of glowing aura around her. She's kind of looking back. I'm like, don't you? Well, she's in the cinematic though.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
can't
that
Yeah, okay.
cinematic could
do
be.
that.
Oh, she's safe. Oh,
Right?
okay, she's safe.
Right.
Oh,
Right?
oh.
I mean,
Unless that's like a
yeah, I
cutscene or
hope-
something that happens, like I think they wouldn't do. They've never done that before. I think
Yeah.
we're okay. I think we're
mean,
okay.
I'll
Don't
also
panic
be
just yet.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I really hope we don't see any female characters die. Personally, from the standpoint of we've had far too many female characters get
It's
killed
true.
off in this game.
That's
It's
so
very
for
true.
me,
That's fair.
I'm like, please, if we're gonna lose somebody, let it be one of the boys.
You took Moonbrita from
I
me.
have been
Papalymo!
presenting
Papalymo's a boy!
Okay,
Yeah, that's-
Papalymo and Horshaphon.
Papalymo, Horshaphon, Ysayle, Moonbrita, Yotsuyu.
Tsukuyo, yep,
Yotsuyu.
Yotsuyu.
I
Who
mean,
else?
it's-
I mean, I'm
Well.
sure there's others.
Ida, technically.
Oh yeah, I guess
yeah,
technically.
but then her
She doesn't count.
Yeah, she doesn't count, but yeah.
whatever. Yeah, Minfilia.
Minfilia,
Yeah.
She's not dead.
Uh,
She's not dead.
Just don't
Well,
kill Graha.
Zen.
Kathleen.
Look,
Zen
I've been
Kathleen,
saying
who
I have
thought
been-
would be cool.
been presenting
She's-
Exhibit A, Death of Urian J, for like months
Oh
now.
yeah, you have the way
Just
out.
saying.
That's it.
Minfilia
You have
Fits,
the way
fits
is
your
not
forward.
dead. She is-
criteria.
Evolved into a different sort of entity.
Just like Kathleen did.
Well, I don't know. I
But
don't
she's
know.
dead.
Well, Tesla's
Wow,
also
that's
dead.
a
Yeah,
that's
no.
a comparison.
But I don't actually know. With Minfilia, I would say at this point she is dead. Because
Right.
although like
Yeah.
the reincarnation happened, that whole arc that we see with Reen, right? The choice is either to let herself be taken over by Minfilia's spirit or to consign Minfilia to the grave to death. Like at least as her soul, her entity,
Yeah.
even if maybe the physical body has been reincarnated
Yeah,
to something.
I am
Maybe
still
she's
so
with
upset we
Hydaelyn? I
couldn't
don't
go
know.
with them to put those flowers down.
Yeah.
I
that's true.
know.
Like out of all the things, that's the
Yeah.
one they were like, you can just come back after the fact. It's okay.
Yeah.
You don't need to be. What?
Also, I did want to take a second here because Infinity Fiasco in chat, I love this. Aren't Tiamat and Bahamut brother and sister? Yes, they are.
Mhm.
But the thing is that we don't actually know how dragons reproduce at this point, and it seems to be magically based.
Mhm.
They do not seem, from everything that we've gathered, I think, through lore, or if you've done deep dives into like dragon lore, which is its own weird, bizarre, strange, fascinating thing in the Final Fantasy universe. Yeah, they did pair off, even if they are part of the same brood, but it also seems as though there's
like a-
Dragons
not,
don't
like,
care. Dragons don't
like a-
care.
there's
like
not
a-
a genetic
don't care.
God
connection that seems to
situation,
be-
you know?
Yeah.
Like they were created from
Oh, that's a
Igor
good.
somehow.
It's
That's a
I mean
better
it's like
comparison.
a Noah's Ark conundrum, right? It's like, okay,
Right.
these are the only people that survived, right? They they came over here. That's it. That's the family.
What
Yeah,
can
we're
you
not
do?
entirely
You know,
sure. They are
I don't
strongly
know.
magical beings, so it's very likely that their reproduction has something more to do with like ethereal mixing. I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm not an expert.
Oh,
Only
They
boy.
just high five, and when their hands
They
come
just
apart, there's
they
an
just
egg.
get a wizard, and the wizard's like, all right, each of you spit in a cup. All right,
Yep.
baby
there we go.
dragons. There you go.
Don't like it.
It does make me think about the Dreadworm trance in a different way, though. A little strange.
I mean, look, maybe sometimes you want to get a little bit. You want to have a little
Mhm.
bit of a special moment, share a glass of
Uh-huh.
wine, do some Netflix and chill with
Yeah.
Bahamut, so you go into Dreadworm trance.
Yeah,
I mean,
Oh
maybe.
my god.
yeah, you know, that's fine. That's okay. Not yucking anyone's yum, you know?
Let's see how many episodes we can go without mentioning Netflix and chill with some random NPC in this game.
I mean, I don't think we can. I
We're
think
not-
this
I-
Can we
is
get a
yeah, we're
graphic?
we're doomed.
Can we get a graphic 0 days since last
days
mention?
days since Netflix and chill with.
I'm trying to think of anything else that was particularly exciting. I mean, there's so many things in the
yeah.
trailer.
Alpha
I mean,
No couldn't heal a guy.
Yes, he couldn't heal a guy.
He was like,
that was
seemed
and then he
upset.
couldn't, and he punched the ground.
Or the guy.
It was like he was on something. He punched something
Yeah.
metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It's very manly in that moment.
It
Mhm.
does seem as though there's a big focus on Garlean forces being the ones that are kind of like we assume
Yeah.
being affected by this mind force, this tempering, and a lot of them pushing in. A lot of those shots did appear to be similar to like the battlefields and battlegrounds that we've sort of seen.
Mhm.
And
Become
yeah,
more.
it seems as though they're having to kill a lot of Garlemald
Yeah.
and Garleans. And I am wondering if this is going to lead us into whatever causes what we've seen with the announcement and stuff, right? With the destruction of at least the capital. I don't know.
So this dungeon, Peglathon?
Wait.
It's got an apostrophe in there. It's messing me up. I don't know. It's basically like they took the Gimlet Dark and then like the Amalja Stronghold and just kind of like smushed them together and then put one of those lunar tower things in the background. So I wouldn't be surprised if we end up like at the tower at the end of this dungeon.
So what do you before we get into that though, like what do you think the significance of all of the weapons that Xenos has are? Because I could pick out some that were primal based.
Yeah,
absolutely. So like, do you think he's killing some primals too?
Keep in mind though that that's not the first time that we've seen that though. What's his name in Azim Steppe had like the Titan axe, right? So it's just, it's an axe.
Little son.
I don't know that it necessarily implies.
I truly believe that I believe that it's a reinforcement of...
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I believe that it's truly a reinforcement of what Aldiano hypothesized. I believe that part of the reason he's been collecting all these weapons and he has that dumb-looking golf caddy of swords is because he's been collecting like legendary weapons that have souls to them. And there is already basis in the world of Final Fantasy XIV for this, right? So everything that we saw in Stormblood with going back to the turtle people, Kojin. The Kojin all talk about the kami within things, right? Which is actually something that it's drawn directly from Japanese mythology and lore. There is a belief that there are certain items that, given their like 100th year of existing, almost develop a sentience or a soul of their own. That they
and Ivory in the chat, Heavensward relics with the anima. Same
there's this
kind of thing.
That they culminate that kind of energy. So my guess is that he's been collecting these weapons, and now when we saw him like step on the sword or things like that, I'm guessing that he is somehow like eating those spirits, which is where maybe we get led to this soul eater thing that you were hypothesizing as far as a class goes, which is then giving him some sort of power. That's my guess. That's what I'm thinking. So he's like devouring them.
Yeah, and maybe he earned some of them, but he probably just killed people and took their weapon.
Yeah, he seems like that kind of guy.
I'm just imagining Endwalker now, the final boss. We go up to the moon, and like Xenos is just like roasting Zodiark on a spit and just eats it, and he's like, and that's the final boss.
Well, I mean, Monster Hunter just came out, so I can hear the jingle. He's got to pull it off at just the right time, or it's not going to be tasty.
You thought the Monster Hunter collab was dead. It's coming back.
It's back.
So yeah, we got we also, for the dungeon, we got our look at the armor that's gonna be dropping from it. Very like tribally Amalja kind of. I think it looks cool.
Also, just as a note, the fact that it appears as though we maybe get to this dungeon by riding on Tiamat's back is life dream realized. Goal. The more riding dragons that I can get, the better. So.
It definitely reminds me a little bit of the Burn, where we fly out to the Burn, because I mean, you see where this dungeon, it's just kind of like out in the middle of nowhere, right? So it's not like we walk to a gate and then go into it or anything. It's like, all right, we got to go out a little ways here.
I do hope though that the bosses and things are those lunar primals. It's tough because on one hand, we just talked about with the Eden Raid set coming out of Shadowbringers, that I think a lot of us, and myself included, we're a little tired of seeing all these primals rehashed. Like, I'm not gonna lie, we have Unreal Trials now. The entire raid set was just like, here's the same primals again for the 50th time. How would you like them? We'll add some extra flair and a go-kart. And that's cool because, in a sense, it was fun to see them re-envisioned, but at the same time, it's like, boy,
one time.
Boy, I'd like to just move on to something different. And yet, at the same time, I cannot help but be excited about a dungeon in which our bosses are like lunar primals. Right. And I feel like this is very contradictory in and of myself. But when we've talked about some of those other dungeons that have been culminating dungeons, right? So like Alamigo, what's the one that Gimlet Dark? Yeah. It seems like it has been kind of a mix as to whether or not it feels as though those moments are as powerful as, you know, kind of the narrative and things that we would want to sort of be surrounding it. And for some reason, this one just like hit the spot for me when I saw all those lunar primals. And then I started, you know, with that context with the beast tribe as
Right.
well, which is now just called a tribe, but like the Amal Jah and Pogglethon and all these culminating themes. To me, it feels like it could actually be a really exciting kind of, I don't know, synthesis of all these ideas that they've been sort of bringing together
Right.
about primals and belief and the power of belief and tempering on the soul. And I'm
Yeah.
just sitting here like, I hope
mean,
it's as good as I feel it's gonna be.
right. It's runaway creation magic, just like what happened to Amara, right?
Yeah,
Like,
you know,
Lunar
let's
nightmare.
talk about the lunar primal stuff. So we have Husky in the chat saying doesn't think there'll be dungeon bosses because we see scions, but
Sure.
remember trusts, right? So I don't know which scions you've seen, right? But that could be a thing. But also with the screenshots that Square's released with this, we do have what is probably a boss fight in this, and it's not a lunar primal.
Weird.
So
Thunder
That we
lizard.
know of.
take that. I mean, it's just it's like green and yellow. Like it's definitely not, you know.
It looks
From
like a
what we've
coral
seen.
mixed with a lizard or something. Right?
Yeah, it's like an
It's
electric
like an uglier I'm the
coral
good.
thing.
Yeah, uglier I'm the good.
Yeah. So
I'm the bad.
Oh,
you know,
bad.
they could, you know, be letting the dungeon be its own thing, and then maybe there's a solo instance, or
Yeah.
you know, Husky suggested maybe some roleplay stuff.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah,
because
we
I
don't
think
know.
ever since 2.0, there's definitely the understanding that they want to not make the dungeons incredibly long and, you know, cutscene heavy and stuff. So they could have one run right into the other, gameplay wise, but then the dungeon is still kind of its own thing. So we'll have to see how they do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I just think all of the stuff that we got little snippets of feels like, and this is really a good thing as we head into what is going to be a culmination of this 10-year story arc, right? But it feels like all of this stuff, they are threads that are truly bringing together a culmination. And it's been really neat between all of that. And then in the trailer, we haven't even touched on what we saw of what we can assume is probably the new 48 man that's coming with
Right.
the last portion of the Bojin story arc. We also haven't touched on the Nier raid, which we all have mixed feelings about the Nier raid, but
that's
I mean,
all right. We don't have to.
the aesthetic, the music.
Yeah.
I do think a lot of that looks interesting. If you don't, you know, you're not a big fan of the story, which I'm not, and I think a lot of us haven't been particularly, but it definitely has had its high and low points, and I think the aesthetic and visuals are looking pretty cool for this next one.
Okay.
At least unique.
Yeah, so let's keep going down the list here. Link is in the chat. If you haven't seen it, if you haven't read up on it, gamerscape.com for the summary. The final chapter of the Sorrow of Verlet. We've got the diamond weapon.
This picture, it looks like a dick.
Zen, why
Oh,
you
I'm not gonna be able to unsee that now.
Why do you have to ruin this?
I'm glad I was
It
already there.
does. Oh man, the first
As I was
one.
scrolling through this the first time, I was like, "Oh no, oh, that's okay."
Are you talking about like his shoulder?
Yep.
Yeah. It does look like a dick. Damn it.
The sad kind of.
I'm gonna
realization.
take us away from this sadness to
Please.
happiness,
Yeah.
which
Please.
is that the
It's fine.
cutscene that they showed for this is amazing. Like,
Yeah.
I was surprised that this is the actual in-game cutscene leading into the fight.
If you wanted more mech stuff, here you go. It's just for you.
Also, something that was of note in some of the translations that I thought was really important to mention about this is that the previous ones in Japanese, right? The translation of the actual Japanese title in previous ones was Ruby Emerald Weapon Destroying Operation, which is like kind of the translation. This one, though, is called Diamond Weapon Capture Operation.
Yeah.
And
And who did we see in the cockpit there?
we saw the girl, the daughter from the recent cutscenes and things. So I
He's
was
stealing shit.
I feel like we're gonna be taking this one or trying to
Is-
capture it and save her.
Is Milkman gonna live? Is he gonna come back and be even
No.
more of like the best villain ever?
I mean, Milkman can only live if we get to kill Milkman and Endwalker.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
Yeah.
it.
like if he's not in the fight, like,
I
or Guy is just
Yeah.
like after the fight, Guy is just like, and that's it. Like,
live
I
long
could see
enough
him
to
staying
take
around.
some milk to Xenos to eat with his soul cookies.
Yeah, there you go.
Dunk, dunk.
That
Oh,
Zodiac looks mighty tasty. Would you like a glass of milk to wash it down?
Man, there are so many ways that they could just keep him around. Like,
I
you
want
know,
that
he's
too so
experimenting with
much.
Oversoul. He could put himself into another weapon that we haven't seen. Like, I would love to see some of that stuff. Yeah.
Take
Yeah.
your Soul Eater concept,
hmm
lore spin
Gonna
it
eat it.
with Oversoul.
Yeah. See, it's
Mhm.
kind of interesting, right? There's a lot
Yeah.
of soul nonsense going on. But I love that the Data Weapon fight
I
is in
know
the
a lot
air.
about the soul.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Exactly. No,
I
it's
saw an
fine.
opportunity to get all back.
But I love that it's in the air because you ram it with the high wind and 7. You know, like that's really cool. So I don't know.
Yeah, that was a nice nod, and it's funny that cutscene too. You see the G weapon like with this giant like backpack thing. I'm just like, oh
Yep.
no! But then you just fight on top of it. I'm like, oh okay. But also,
Yeah.
there's no railings, so we know what that means. But yeah,
Most of
definitely,
the time.
definitely a nice nod to that 7 fight with the airship and stuff. So
Mhm.
I'm excited. I'm really excited for this quest.
It
I
looks
don't know.
Me
I don't know how
too.
it's gonna end.
I mean,
But
Diamond
the
Weapon
fact that
kicked
it's
the missile.
maybe not Milkman in the pilot seat
Yeah.
here, like that's giving me a little bit of hope. I'm excited for
I've
that.
also
Yeah.
been really curious since Yoshida-san mentioned, because he kept saying during the live letter, like, I don't want to pull because when you pull, there's a big surprise. I don't want to
Yeah.
pull. I don't want to pull. And I was sitting there like, ooh, are we
Hmm.
gonna get another moment that's kind of like that
Well,
transition moment with Ruby Weapon?
So
Because
so
Maybe.
we can
Yeah.
see in the second cutscene here we have on our write up, the kind of like platform we're on splits at some point, and he's kind of in the middle. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I think I'm really
Getting
excited
some
for this though.
Second
Mhm.
Leviathan vibes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know there looks like there might be some switches on the platform as well. So
Make sure to rescue the people on the other side. That's a pro tip. You know,
yeah,
they'll just fall
rescue
right in the
them
middle
to
and die.
save them.
Yeah.
Uh,
But then also summon Frey and your automaton queen right when the
Right.
split happens, so they're just floating.
Yep.
That's how the
Uh,
pros do it. Yeah.
It's fine.
The only other thing, something else I was going to say. Oh, yeah, it can't be a Gundam analog without a child stealing a robot. So, yes, it makes sense for her to steal Diamond or the G Warrior. I don't know. I didn't take a look at the cockpit because I thought their cockpits were more enclosed and they didn't have that kind of free flowing background like we have in the G Warrior. So I don't know that she's not stealing our mech. She's at the base with it right now.
Or is she piloting the G?
Yeah, that's what
thing?
I mean. I don't know.
We'll have to
That
see.
would
Because
be-
we're not piloting it.
That would be
want
super.
Milkman around more.
Yeah.
If you have to kill him, go by like Walking Dead rules and just pretend he's been on the show for like the entire run and give him like the best death ever.
I'm okay with him dying. I think that villains that stick around too long, is a thing we don't want. So I'm okay with him dying.
That's also very true.
I guess
I-
the one thing that I would feel a little bit bummed about if he just like dies in this quest is that for people who haven't done these weapon quests or may not, or who knows for whatever reason, to not have him be like a villain and a player in the overall villainscape of Final Fantasy XIV in a more like direct way, I feel like it would be such a missed opportunity. But at the same time, it's been pretty unusual that things around these sort of side primal quests and things like that have actually crossed into the MSQ. We've seen them now starting to like tie in some of those stories, but it's not really like we've seen a lot of those characters kind of directly like hopping, particularly the villains directly like hopping in.
I don't know. I'm gonna say like the Warring Triad.
Sure.
That came back around this time pretty strong.
Well,
It did take a
but
while, though.
also mostly with the Void Quest, which is like it's a whole other gate kept thing. And then you have Van Hydrus, right, in the Warrior Triad. I'm in this quest line, and he's dead.
It would just be such a waste now because we're going into Garlemald. Like this was the setup. We got Turncliffe, and we're like, ooh, is this their architecture?
Oh,
It
Yeah.
would just be such
I
a
love Turncliffe.
failure if you don't.
It's so
take it
interesting
over.
if you go back to like when we were talking about like Stormblood when Stormblood was new. I'm like, man, Xenos was such a great villain. Like he actually beat us, and then like he merges with the Primal, and then suddenly we're more powerful, and then he killed. Like that's so dumb. Like, he should have been around longer. And then they bring him back, and we're like, no.
Yeah, poor Xenos. We can do like a whole cast just breaking down the pros and cons of Xenos, I
Right.
think. It's
No.
it's just well, I mean, it's interesting because I do think he tends to be one of those really divisive figures in the community, right?
Mhm.
There are some people that really do feel
yeah.
connected to him. For whatever
Xenos has a
reason.
very strong following on my Twitter
Yes.
feed.
And then there are a lot of people who I think kind of like most of our opinions, although of course we've acknowledged some of the stuff that is interesting about him, but like a lot of other people who are just kind of like, wow, I feel like he's been one of the least compelling for him to be
Mhm.
around the longest, which
Mhm.
really does feel like they've been setting him obviously up for something bigger, but just have kind of kept him around as a constant thread.
And then
because
it's
of
rough
that.
because then they introduce like his companion Fandaniel, right? Who's like, you have Xenos who's just like, I'm Xenos. I'm gonna fight this guy sometime. It's gonna be great. And then
just
to like
waiting.
balance that, you have Fandaniel that's like, hey everybody, what's up? I'm Fandaniel. And it's just like put those two together. It's like when they put like Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy together in Batman and Robin. It's a really weird mix.
We also didn't see very much. I was surprised. We didn't see very much, if anything, of Fandaniel in the trailer. Did we?
heard him.
We heard him for just like a second.
Yeah.
But that was really interesting to me.
Yeah.
I think we'll get a little nod, but I feel like with him and Xenos, that'll be more of the part 2 of the patch.
Yeah.
Would be my guess to lead us right into Endwalker.
Yeah.
But yeah. Go ahead, Algino.
I don't like Fandaniel, certainly. We've all talked about that. And Xenos is in that point of the narrative, his overarching narrative that we only know he wants to fight, right? This is like when we only knew Emmett Selk was a weird dude, right? Or when we only knew Elidibus.
I hated Emmett
mustache
Selk in that
twirling,
first patch.
right?
I absolutely hated him.
So they have the chance. But what I don't want to see, right? What I want from Fandaniel is he being the harbinger of some of the stuff we're going to have to do later, which is all of those Asians are still around. They're not just going to disappear. They can do whatever they want, and they're super powerful. What the heck are we going to do about that? Fandaniel's just one.
We're going to kill them off screen like we did in the last patch.
I hope not. I really hope that part of the falling action of like Endwalker is dealing with the other Asians. Because what do they want to do? Nobody knows.
They just want to live their life. They want to start a small business.
Yeah, maybe.
And, they just... Who knows?
A small business doing what?
Selling goods?
They're florists.
They're not going to become florists.
Teleporting us between worlds. There you go.
Yeah, all of this said, coming back to Diamond Weapon, I think it's interesting with this particular thread, with these, particular quests and this kind of story, because we do know that Garlemald is a huge part of the backdrop of kind of what's been happening, and at least Xenos as a character, and the sort of major antagonistic force. So it does feel like these quests could have some sort of larger connotation, or could tie into even the events that, sort of are going to be surrounding the next expansion. But all that said, whether or not Milk Drinker ends up being there or not, I mean, I think this really has proven to be one of the most surprising quest lines for me. So I've been really interested in the way that they've handled the storytelling, and also just the graphics that they've showed off with the different cutscenes, and how they've been sort of increasing their capabilities there in storytelling. And all of the momentum of this feels really good, even if maybe the fights haven't always been the most diverse or it's tough because, like we've talked about, that reveal for Ruby Weapon was so cool. And I think there was some really interesting kind of lore, and the music and stuff in the next one was fantastic. But I'm glad that we're on a different platform. I hope that the mechanics are interesting, and that something does happen that kind of shakes it up. And yeah, I'm just curious to see how they bring this whole story to a conclusion, because
it's hard, right? Because we had, that first tier of Eden. We're like, oh, like remixed Primal is cool. And then the second tier comes out and we're like, oh, it's more remixed Primal. Like you can't make us happy with anything. So I'll be curious to see what they do.
I liked it. I did like it. And I thought the second bunch of music was better too.
Okay.
I'm a summoner main. You show me a primal, I'm okay with it. Just let me summon it one day.
Okay, so moving on, that's going to take us to the 24-man raid. So the new Yorha Dark Apocalypse, this is going to be Chapter 3 here, The Tower at Paradigm's Breach. I don't know what's going on. I have no idea what this is. I don't know who these people are. I don't know what this setting is.
Have you done your between quests? Have you done your between quests, everybody?
I actually had. Did I?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I know
Who are your between
about it.
quests?
I know about it, but
I
yeah.
I've had fun with these. I don't know
Okay.
shit all about Nier, to be honest, but I've had fun with the 24 mans. I thought there were new little quirky things they added to them that were fun, a new experience. I didn't really care about the story until these latest couple of in between quests, where they just
Okay.
kind of make you they take everything and go whoop, and you're like, oh, okay.
Okay.
So I am actually curious what's going to happen.
I don't remember if I did those or not.
Well, go look.
I know
I will have to check.
The most recent ones are supposed to be really memorable and actually have certain repercussions for choices that you've made so far within the story change or story chain. So I am curious. I have not done the most recent little quest snips. I do know though, just from like my understanding of Nier and what I've seen, a lot of people have mentioned that the landscape and things of this tower does almost seem to be kind of like the hacking space or like the digital space that we see sometimes in Nier games, which for people who don't know, it's in certain Nier games, there are these different like characters that you play or stuff that may have specific abilities that allow you to hack or that will take you into like this digital world that then gives you almost different mini games for how you complete various things. And it's really interesting because it is all very white, very, cubes, all these kinds of things like that. So we've seen some of that, and we know that technically there is this tower behind, but even like the boss that everybody got really emotional about, which is supposed to be, I think, a really big Nier throwback, but I don't know this one because I've only played the most recent Nier Automata. So even there's kind of like a glitch effect on the boss and stuff. So there's a lot of kind of discussion about surrounding it, exactly what could be happening. But the aesthetic, the music, the bosses, as always, the design looks really cool. So
this is some of those characters that we saw are a throwback to like Drakengard, right? So we're going back to the very beginning,
see, so that's my thing. Like I can understand that they're like older Nier stuff, right? I didn't know it went that far back, but for me, like again, right, my history is I tried to play Nier Automata several times and I didn't quite get it. So for the first two, I kind of understood the setting. I recognized some of the characters. Now I have no idea what's going on. I don't know what this area is, if it's a reference to anything. And the fact that it looks the way it does, it's so, like, it looks unfinished. Like, when I was looking at the live letter and I saw the part where he's like, this is one of the bosses, I'm like, did they not add the textures yet?
It's
like,
so
is this a dev build?
I mean, people in the chat even were saying, like, what, you didn't have the budget for textures? But I personally think the aesthetic is super cool. Like, I actually like that very...
This is going to come down to personal taste.
I mean, it's definitely something that is, again, and you have to look at the overall artistic direction of Nier, right? Because I do think that Yoko Taro does a lot of stuff that involves visual symbolism, that involves all of this very abstract conceptualization. So first and foremost, even if you're not a Nier player, you have to just kind of look at the Nier stuff and realize that a lot of times, even if you've played the games, there's not a lot of understanding about what exactly it is. It's meant to be really symbolic. And something that's really important to note is that visually, there's a lot of different, I guess you could say, contrasting visuals between the sort of rusted, decayed, textural, decomposing environments that might be taken over by nature or that have been abandoned, which we saw with like the first ones, right? So you get all of these very like textured, aged, worn, decomposed textures. And then when you get into something like this, right? Like the digital space or futuristic envisionings or the spaceships, there's this entirely different aesthetic, which is smooth, clean, almost too perfect, crisp, controlled.
Like the lady at the end of the last one, she was too smooth.
Yes.
Way too smooth.
Was she?
No.
She was real lumpy.
She lumpy, but she lumpy smooth. Like,
lumpy smooth.
She's not in the juxtaposition like we're talking about.
But it's important to note that because I do think that when we look at these kinds of collaborations, understanding the artists that are being brought in, and particularly an artist that is so distinctive like Yoko Taro, it's important to be able to break that down as opposed to just being like, this looks dumb and unfinished. it's like, and that's not a hit at you, Fusion. That's just like
Oh
a
no,
deep
no, yeah. Okay. All right.
I've seen a lot of the community criticize
Right.
that. And it's actually, I really believe, something that is done very purposefully by Yoko
Mhm.
Taro to create like visual metaphors.
Yeah.
And
That makes
and
sense.
I don't disagree with you. Right? I he definitely has his own style. He has his own meanings behind things. But I don't know that this is necessarily the audience that is going to understand and appreciate that. Is my thing.
Yeah.
No,
I disagree with that. I feel like people segment video game type audiences way too much. There's so much crossover between people who play video games.
Yeah. It's
And I
just
think I don't know. I think that being like, well, this person who plays this kind of game won't like this kind of game is just a failure to both genres and all the people who like both.
I mean, that's
But
true.
that's another discussion.
And
I mean, that's
then-
true.
I
Zen, I
am
will-
very much looking forward to the original story, the raids in the next expansion.
yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, so am I. I'll be completely honest. I've mentioned it. I think we've all mentioned it. I feel like this was a really difficult crossover to pull off. I think that Yoko Taro as a creator is so independent and so avant-garde in the genre that it was not going to be easy. I mean, he's doing something that really is unique. But Zen, I do have to jump in with you and agree to some extent, right? Because I even think that what we saw of JRPGs, especially in their kind of earlier conception, even earlier Final Fantasies, God, the ending of Final Fantasy VIII, or like any of these other things, right? JRPGs have always kind of been distinctive, I think, because they carry an emotive landscape with them.
Yeah.
They do sometimes delve into abstractions. When you think, I call them visual interactive poetry, where you're sitting there and they're like, a feather falls, a heart breaks. And then you see all this stuff in the background and it's like, a sword shatters. And you're like, what in the hell?
You're making me want to go back and play like Flower on PS3. Like,
Yeah.
And it's just like, you have no idea tangibly what's occurring, but it's this like almost more abstract emotionscape.
Right.
They just want to like paint you with emotion.
Yes, like, and it does happen in a lot of, especially
Yeah.
older JRPGs. I think we've seen more of a push towards like stronger, more tangible, realistic
Themes, yeah.
narratives for like, especially as Western audiences have been drawn more into them. But there is a tradition of that in Final Fantasy, and I do think there's a place for it in Final Fantasy XIV.
Sure.
But I do think that it has been very polarizing for players because people aren't necessarily trained just from Final Fantasy XIV to look for these kinds of things or
Right.
understand them. And Yoko Taro already is something that a lot of people spend a lot of time breaking down on the internet. So like,
Yeah, I love the overarching story of Nier because I've watched a lot of videos. I don't really care for the game. But you get to that point where you can get into navel gazing. You're just like, okay, well, we're poignant for poignancy's sake, right? It looks fantastically complex, but then it's not, right? And that's where you get to it. Like, to me, that's like Eternal Sonata, which is a game a while ago. It's like, yeah, it's a game about death and dying, and it's Chopin, like the guy as he's dying and his memories and whatever, right? And then like at the end, it's like them just talking to you. And I'm like, don't do that to me. I don't care. I do not care. Like, please stop. What is this? So like, it's a fine line. And Yoko Taro really is on the good side of that line 100% of the time. I agree. But like, yeah, it does look weird. And it's going to be weird. But hey, whatever. At least you'll be able to see the AoEs.
Unless it's all white. Unless all of the
That was
attacks are
beautiful.
white. In Susan's defense, when I first saw the little pieces of the Nier stuff in the trailer, I was like, what? 2 seconds later, I'm like, okay, Yoko Taro, this is in that they're going.
It's gonna be
artsy-fartsy.
weird. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I guess if you kind of know where it's coming from, it clears it up immediately. And I think that to expand on what I said a little bit earlier, like I don't mind them mixing other genres into this game, because this could be somebody's very first MMO, somebody's very first video game that they've gotten into, and they don't know what they like yet. So having little tastes of other things here can draw them out into other parts of the video game community at large. Suddenly, you were like, it's that part where I have to shoot a beaver from far away in the Ilmeg Pixie Quest. I
And the
think I
next
might
thing you
like
know,
to
they're
try
asking their
an
parents to get
FPS.
Duck
Mhm.
Hunt for Christmas.
Yes, yes. You
Slippery.
don't know. You never know.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part of that expansion. I need to be playing FPS shooters, you know?
Yeah.
Yes. Also as a note, because I see in the
First
chat, but
person shooters.
also in the note, good lord, talking is hard sometimes.
Yes.
In the chat, I see the note about gear sets, right?
Yeah.
One thing that I do think was a little confusing, but a little bit
Mhm.
interesting to me is that we were shown 3 different gear sets for the raid. And these 3 different sets all look incredibly different. One
Yes.
looks very traditionally Nier-esque, and it looks pretty much exactly like the stuff we already got so
Mhm.
far. The second one, I believe, is drawn more from Drakengard, and
Yes.
has a bit
Yeah.
more of that sort of like traditional medieval
I
fantasy look.
love it.
And then the third one looks like a J-Rock band member,
Yep.
which I'm not sure exactly where like this one comes from within the Nier Drakengard sort of
Mhm.
history. I feel like it's probably something that I'm missing as far as a reference goes, but all 3 seem really different, and I'm curious if like each very different set is tied specifically to, you know, this specific class or that sort of thing, or if there's different interchangeable pieces, or if kind of like we had with that first one, there's a special box that drops,
Mhm.
you know, one, or I don't know, but
Mhm.
they all look wildly different,
Yeah.
and that's
I'm
good.
hoping I'm hoping for the
that
like
makes me
special
so
box more
happy.
than anything else, because if they vary it so that this class gets this kind and this class gets this kind and this class gets this kind, you're gonna have crossover, as there always is, where like the healer is like, boy, I sure didn't want that other kind, but the bard is like, boy, I sure like that healer outfit.
But
Mhm.
you know what? At least it doesn't look like the same gear sets from the first 2 raids
Sure.
that were all black and leather
is
and they
good.
all look the same. So
That is good. Like,
Yeah.
But you know
I'm a
what?
sucker.
I got a really cute dress out of that. Two
I
I
mean,
weeks
it's true,
see it.
right?
I see
I
that
still haven't
Seth
opened my
mentioned-
2B chest.
I opened it. It looks fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm sure it
That
does.
butt won't quit for days.
One of these days I'll put it on my retainer.
Says does say that the last one is from the first Nier for characters named Vigola and Popola. So that's
Mhm.
awesome. I know a lot of people have been curious as well about the weapons, about possible hairstyles.
Right.
I mean, even if down the road they added some kind of other, because we've seen them, you know, we know that there are oftentimes additional quests added that you can run them weekly or get, you know, currencies and exchange for something, or in addition to just what drops. So I would be totally fine if at some point they put some sort of repeatable quest in where you could maybe get the
Yeah.
weapon skins, or you could get the hairstyle, because there's a lot of good visual stuff from Nier. But
Oh, yeah.
Zed, I'm with you on the fact that it's a little tough, because yeah, if you know one of these outfits that you really like that looks very different from the others is only Dragoon, or only, you know, it's gonna stink. So
Time to level Dragoon.
I mean, I have all my classes.
It's leveled. I just don't want to play it.
I just don't want to play it all the time. Sorry, Fusion. I know this is a great betrayal.
I mean, I'm maining Machinist
As the
expansion,
Machinist, yeah.
so
But yeah, I hope
Trade
that
yourself.
they're maybe a little more flexible.
Charles, I
There
stepped over you earlier. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I don't
Don't remember. Sorry.
was it
Oh, no, it's
words?
fine. It was
It was
probably
weird.
words. It was probably something about Devila and Popula.
It was about it was right before I started talking about how they shouldn't make the outfits different for different classes.
All I said was I love the more traditional fantasy one, because that's just me, right?
Okay,
Of
okay,
course.
okay.
But yeah, it is those characters, and they appear the very large child in there. So there's a lot of deep lore that we're gonna get, and I'm excited for that a little bit. But not that
I'm
much.
excited at the idea of this deep lore that I still won't understand.
Right.
We're gonna explain everything right over my head.
At the very least, Yoshida-san did say some mechanics are crazy. Please do your best, which always
it.
makes me really excited, because
Exactly.
Like,
I think
yeah,
they've been knocking it out of the park with the unique mechanics, especially
Yeah.
with Regine and like a lot. We've gotten some actually surprising different mechanics that, even if, you know, when you figure them out, they're not too bad or things like
Right.
that, they still definitely caught me off guard in a good way. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we get to see some more of that, and I'm sure we will coming into this next one. There were some
Yeah.
really good things in this last 24-man, even with the like hallway dodging. I thought that was really creative with the, you know, the ads. So that'll be neat to see.
yeah. I mean, as much flack as I give the Nier raids, they have had some really great mechanics. They've been mechanically fun. So I'm sure that this will still have, you know, deliver on that front. So
I also really
Job?
enjoy running them with my friends who really love Nier. I have a couple of
Mhm.
friends who are
Oh, there you go,
in love
right.
with the game,
Yeah.
and just going through and just hearing their little as we're going through is so good. It's just so
Mhm.
wonderful to like feel
You get
somebody's
to the boss
like
fight, that's just
bask
like
in
this
their happiness.
giant child, and they're like, "Oh my god!" You're like, "I have no idea what's going on right now."
Yeah, it's good.
Job adjustments. Jobs will be adjusted in
Mhm.
this patch.
Who knew?
But what they were
Surprise.
saying is that nothing
Mhm.
that wild is going to be
Yes.
done, right? So
Yoshi
obviously,
P.
Yoshi P was saying that they are already working on the 6.0 changes, but
Mhm.
right around this time,
Yeah.
apparently it's just going to be very minimal. They
Yeah.
called out 2 classes in particular. Was Warrior one? Hold
I
on, I'm
thought
looking
so.
back.
Yeah.
I'm looking back.
I
Job
thought
balance
so.
summary here. Warrior and Dragoon. So
Yeah.
they're doing some buffs for both Warrior and Dragoon on places that feel insufficient, and all major changes are going to be reserved for 6.0. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We have a whole expansion
Yeah.
coming, so that's where all the things are gonna go.
Hold
Yeah,
on.
we
just
talked
hold
about
on.
we talked about job adjustments too much. Now they don't give us the details. So it's what we got to do. We're in the
Yep.
punishment box for a while.
I mean that's fair. Yeah.
Yoshi
Yeah.
P.
People were getting too aggro about it.
Yep.
Be nice to
New
Yoshi P so he'll tell us
feast
things
season.
again.
Mhm.
Feast season 18 will end. Season 19 will begin. This one was interesting. A pricey new mount will be available to purchase in game using Gil.
Several mounts. We saw at least 2 previewed. They all
Yeah.
Mhm.
One was the Namazu mount, except it's the same one that you get from the Namazu, the Washoi,
Yeah.
but it's all gold.
It's
Yeah.
gold, and it's like
Okay.
it's weird though because when the Namazu are gold, they look more yellowy and they look like they're sick.
I do.
Aw.
I have to agree with you. I think they did a terrible job on color.
Like I didn't think when I first saw it, and my wife's like, they all look like they have some kind of like disease.
Jaundice. They're jaundiced.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'm like,
they're like-
you're not wrong.
They're
Mhm.
lemon yellow. And isn't there even from one of the treasure hunts, there's a golden Namazu that has an actual, they look like they are
It's
metal,
actual
like golden
gold.
metal.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Somebody
I'm
clicked
not,
the wrong dye color when they were painting the Namazu or something. I don't know.
I'm not totally sold on the lemon pea colored Namazu.
Yeah, the
Not-
other
not
one
quite.
was the Great Serpent of Ranka mount. That was also like a yellowy gold kind of
Mhm.
Yeah.
thing. So I
Pass.
Now, the one thing with this that I am holding out hope for is that some little part of my soul has always been just a little bit bitter that I didn't get from the doggos a golden Okami mount.
Mhm.
Instead, we got the Foxy Lady mount. And so I couldn't help but wonder if some of this was them maybe hearing community feedback, not only about not having anything in game to really spend large amounts of gil on, and they did say that these will not be just like 1 or 2 mil, they're going to be supposedly significantly more than that.
Right.
Whatever that means, don't know. But I think maybe it's a mixture of that we don't have things to spend gil on, and then
Yep.
also
Yeah, that was
I
my first
missed
thought.
the like golden version of things. So I'm wondering what all kinds of mounts they're gonna, because I'm assuming they're gonna just be reskinning since we didn't see any new ones, but who knows?
Mhm.
But like,
There
what
were
kind of mounts they're
2 on the
reskin?
hotbar. There was like
Oh.
the antelope and like the gazelle
Mm.
Oh, I missed
ones.
those.
Were they gold or regular?
They were regular. So there was like the blue one, and then there was like the striped horned one.
Mm.
Ooh, my friend has wanted that since 1.0.
Well,
He's gonna
there
be
you go.
happy.
Yeah, it's our
Total
WoW
photo.
Budasaur or whatever. WoW got one of these last expansion, and it was, I don't know how much gold it was, but it was a lot. So they just do this to get the gold out of the
Which is
the
weird
economy.
because it's they haven't really been doing that for
Nope.
ever.
It's a little bit
Right?
late for that. So these
Yeah,
better be really good.
It feels really odd to just now be doing something
Mhm.
to pull Gil out, but
I mean, I'm happy about it.
Yeah, it's
I
good.
like that there is something there, and that it's not something that you have to either farm for a million years to try and get RNG, or we've talked a lot about the fact that there does need to be more in the game that I think you can just spend gil on that isn't incredibly difficult to obtain housing.
Yeah.
So doing stuff like this is good. But I agree that for it coming so late, it really does feel like, and for these, I mean, I, for whatever reason, am imagining them being 20 mil or something, right? And if that's the case, they better be good,
Mhm.
Because they better look real good.
And
Have a
not
good
like
song.
contagious Namazu. Like,
Yeah.
hey, what do you want to
They
ride?
need, like,
No,
the-
I'm good. I'll walk. That's
They need like the orchestra version of Primal songs that you have to spend real money on for the orchestrion role.
I mean, they already have that though.
No, like on the mount.
Oh, on the mount.
Yeah,
The music.
Gotcha.
because each mount has music.
That's true. Where were we? The next Unreal
Leviathan,
Trial is going to be Leviathan. So in case having Shiva as the first Unreal Trial with Eden wasn't enough overlap, and then having Titan, now we're also going to get Leviathan. Please look forward to it, I
Called
guess.
this. I was like, maybe because I think you guys said Ramu, right?
I was hoping. I was
Yeah.
hoping.
I was hoping
like,
for anything that wasn't 2.0 Primals.
Yeah.
But no. I was like, okay,
No.
the next most annoying one, Leviathan. So that's what it's gonna be. Here he is.
Yep.
You guys remember
Alright.
Spumes?
Yep.
I do.
Spew targeting the right one.
Yep.
you
Oh,
know.
healers have to stay away from each other.
Yeah.
Spumes is the worst word. I think it's worse than
Spume.
moist. I think it's terrible.
Wow.
Spume.
Spume.
It's terrible. So I'm not looking forward to this one.
Now I want a worst word power ranking.
All I can think
mean,
of
that
now
doesn't
is
work.
that scene in Wayne's World where he's like, if you're gonna spume in this.
Yeah.
Oh. Wow.
Worst
Oh.
word power ranking? What else is on the list?
I mean, people don't like moist. They don't like spume. I mean, people there's a lot of those. I don't know why, but I remember someone who's like, I don't like Ralph for
Ralph.
vomiting, and I'm like, I don't know
interesting.
why that's. I don't know.
Ralph.
Maybe because it's too onomatopoetic, which is a word that I love. That's not going to be on the worst word ranking. But-
Yeah.
My husband Ralph wouldn't remember our anniversary unless there was a
Right,
beer
exactly.
named June 2nd.
I'm fine with these.
Yeah.
The Unreal Trials, I think, in a sense, are fun because it brings back nostalgia, and it is great to see some of those fights with their actual mechanics again.
Mhm.
But I just find that I can't get myself that excited about it. I'm not sure why. I mean, I guess it's just because I've done all those minimum eye level.
I have not actively sought a group to do any of them.
Yeah. And the rewards and stuff so far, again, don't feel like they're the kind of thing where I've really felt compelled to. It really hasn't felt as though they have that one reskinned mount and then a couple other things. And,
Mhm.
maybe, yeah, if they had told us kind of like with the other primals where it was, oh yeah, well, if you do all of these, then you're going to get a new fancy thing that looks like, then maybe I would do them all and try to farm
Mhm.
each of the mounts but
Well,
it has just kind of been laid back for
What if the next mount is a shiny doggo? A new shiny doggo.
maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think the larger part of it for me is I haven't really cared about Wondrous Tales since like the beginning of Stormblood. Because it was that kind of Heavensward content, right? And the thing is, the dog for this is like right next to it, and I don't go there anymore. It's not really stuff that I actively do anymore,
Right.
and so it's just kind of like this little forgotten corner of the world. So I unless they can do something where we don't have to go to Idleshire and it's just in your one of the things that they're doing, and this is it's jumping ahead just a smidge, I forget where it shows up on our list here, but they're gonna add it so you can get achievement items from the achievement list now. Like,
Yeah.
do that kind of thing with the Wondrous Tales, with the Unreal stuff, and you would probably get at least a little bit more people doing it.
I think what they could do that would be so great for that is a lot of other MMOs have some sort of interface that pops up. And, there
Right.
are certain, with your hunt logs and things, there are things that you can go to and look at and see what the weekly reset is. But it would be so nice if kind of like how when you go into certain zones now, it'll say, here's your zone list, or it'd be so nice if when you logged in, you got a little something and maybe you could choose to disable this if you wanted. But it just said, here are the weekly resets. And it was, here's Wondrous Tales for the week. Here's this, here's this, here's this. And if you wanted to, you could just start doing it right off of that screen, And then
Yeah.
you could almost see what you had completed and done, and I think that would kind of put it more in people's faces, because people do still run Wondrous Tales sometimes. They still do Unreal, because there are certain things that sometimes, if you're super lucky, you can get that you can sell for a lot of stuff, or and that's fine. But I agree in that it feels kind of out of the way. It doesn't really feel like something that when I log on comes to mind for me all that much. Some of it is really annoying to do. So it just kind of falls to the wayside. But if I had that kind of interface that popped up and said, hey, these are things that you could do this week, something might catch my eye. A reward that's on there might catch my eye. And then I might go, anybody want to do Wondrous Tales this week? I just think that'd be nice.
You could do Wondrous Tales by yourself, though.
I know.
A lot of these, yeah. I mean, and I think a lot of it too is that idea of, I mean, look, we're coming up. The game has been around for a while. There's a lot of systems, stacked on some things that came out that kind of maybe replace something in terms of like relevancy. And so you just have a whole bunch of stuff, and it's just, it's like I said earlier, it's that, forgotten little corner of the game.
Back in my day, when we did raiding, we had to go out to the area to enter.
We had to check the little teleport out in Fanelin.
Sometimes people wouldn't show up, and you had to remind them to come out.
Go back to bed, Grandma.
That's nice, Grandma. We had to enter turn 3 by going uphill in the snow both ways.
I, as a footnote, do love the change that you mentioned, though, Fusion, because, again, that was not a quality of life thing that I was expecting them to address or do, but it makes so much sense. Like, why don't you just get the reward?
Cool, I got this achievement done. I get this item. I don't have the... Why won't it? You have to go talk to this random-ass guy in Credania. Oh, okay.
New players don't even know that poor man exists.
Exactly.
Is it just going to pop into your inventory, or are you going to hit like a button and then it'll pop into your inventory?
And it looks like there might be a button.
Go get it.
Good.
I think you claim it from the menu.
I don't want stuff to just fall into my inventory. I haven't claimed so many of those things because I don't want them.
Right.
Rook is over there. It's like, that's the last thing I need for my inventory. It's just things dropping into it.
It's already bad enough that they added that thing, which is good in one sense, but bad in the other sense, where when you're in certain dungeons, you just get a piece at the end that is for your class. Because now I sit there and I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean my armory is full? And then I go to it and I'm just sitting there going, where did all this garbage come from?
And then you move it to your inventory and you don't trade it in for seals. And like one of your 4 blocks is just random ass equipment. You're like, why do I even have this? Like, what?
Do you have your stuff set to fall directly into your armory, or does it fall into your inventory first?
I think it falls directly into my armory.
You should switch to your inventory. Then you'll always be able to be like, this, and then
but then you have to tell it to go from the items into the. It's just you can't win. It's a no-win scenario.
But you won't get your armory full, and if your inventory gets full and that stuff drops into your inventory, it'll automatically go into your armory. It won't hit the ground.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. Both my armory and my inventory is basically at max right now. I also have an entire. I have an entire page just full of die because I cannot, for the life of me, relinquish all the dies that I might use on a whim at some point. So,
you might want that for a screen.
You don't know. The first page of my FC bank is all dies. Anybody can use them. That way they don't get wasted. I'm like, everybody, these dies that I put in here, use them or don't. I'll use them if you don't, but they won't get wasted.
It's so bad. I wish that there was a button you could hit that just said, I'm good, thanks. I don't need the loot to drop. Thank you very much, but I appreciate you.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Or a button to just take like all the not gear set items you have that can be exchanged for Grand Company seals and to be like,
just do it.
Take them. I don't everything. Just shove them across the table. Like I don't want them anymore.
Yeah, and it's like you said, Fusion. There are so many places to go to do things in Final Fantasy XIV, and seeing them consolidate some of this into the achievements, for example, right? But even some of the things that they've done recently to consolidate some of the major areas where, tombstone gear now, those vendors, that kind of stuff, that's such a huge help. Because as it is, yes, if I was just giving people advice, especially like newer players and things who are still leveling up their Grand Companies, who are still trying to get Gil, or even just, players that might want to know what they could do with all this stuff, I would say to them, yes, take all the gear from all these dungeons, then go to the Dome and Enclave, sell it to your max, you'll earn some money, then take it over to the Grand Company, exchange some seals, maybe someday you'll buy yourself something nice. Would you like to go over here? I would tell people to do all of this, but the thing is, I'm too lazy to do it. I don't want to go teleport to the Dome and Enclave. I'm already mad I have to teleport there and go Bosha to go to, I mean,
it's right there. It's on the way. That's like whenever I do Gongos, I'm like, all right, I'm going to take 2 seconds. As I walk over there, I split my whatever Allegan pieces, stack of 40, trade it in, and it takes like no time.
These big brain strats, it's too much for me. Can't do it. So
Man, I'm the opposite. I have my free teleport set to Limsa Lominsa. My house is in the mist. So I teleport free to Limsa Lominsa, use the Aetheryte to go to the mist, and walk up to my house rather than just spending 250 gil to teleport directly to my house. Because it's free.
Wow.
That's smart though.
Zen's like the gil pincher over here. Like every gil that she can save.
Gil. I've been playing this game for this version of nope, I can include 1.0 because that gil transferred over. I'm playing this game for 10 years. Think of how much gil I have saved. Not 250 gil teleporting to my house.
It's gil versus time. Some people have less time. So they're like,
I mean, look, I'm not spending this gil on anything else.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Like, we're talking about in raid, like, everybody remember your consumables, and I'm like, dude, I don't even play this game and I have enough money for consumables. Like, it's all good.
Yeah, it's not such a big deal, but it is something where if you're trying to optimize it, you can
save.
Absolutely do it.
Oh yeah,
110%. But
definitely.
Going all the way back to Unreal, to Wondrous Tales.
Oh yeah, we were talking about that, weren't we?
Going all the way back, right? I do think there is something to be said about making these kinds of things more accessible. And it feels like they kind of did Unreal to, again, bring people back to where Wondrous Tales is and maybe make them do that too while they're there because it's right next to it. But exactly like you said, it still does not feel convenient enough or like something that, again, I don't know, has enough rewards or things to really get me excited. On the other hand, I do really appreciate these fights the way that they were originally, and I do think there's a lot of really foundational stuff that they kind of teach about the game that is really helpful for other people later who might want to get into Extreme Primals, who might want to keep working on things. So I absolutely advise the people to do these. I'm gonna throw together a group and just try and blast through Titan real fast because I've done it on minimum eye level. We used to do that for raid tryouts where for like learning progression raid parties, we try to teach people Titan Unreal or just Titan normal, but on minimum eye level in Extreme. I guess I should say technically. We have so many different labels for things now. Yeah. Normal, hard, Extreme, Unreal. We would do Titan Extreme on minimum eye level, and we'd see how fast people picked it up and could do a lot of the mechanics. So it's definitely worth doing, but is it something that I think a lot of players are going to be keenly looking forward to always? No. I don't think so. Not right now. Yeah. Maybe someday.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, especially with Wondrous Tales, like just with roulettes, or I mean, again, there's so much of the stuff you can solo now. Like, it's like do World Eater Extreme or something. You're like, oh yeah, no problem.
There's something to be said for the brevity of just going and doing the fight once or maybe twice, though. If you have a group that's willing to do it on like a schedule every week. You 1/2 hit it, you're done, and you don't have to go and do this and this.
We did.
And this
I did Titan Unreal once because my raid static was just bored one day. That's it. That's the only time I've done any of these Unreal trials. And it's like, all right, that was a thing. All right,
it was something.
Never touched it again. Yeah.
The first time was exciting for me, just because it's like, this is just like I remember. He doesn't disappear after one person hits him. How interesting. Because now if you go in unsynced, even synced sometimes, after like hardly any damage at all, he's like, whoop, does his little jump, and you're just like, oh, well, there goes my opener, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on. Crafting and gathering updates.
Again?
If you like expert recipes, there's going to be more.
Oh, no. That means I have to make books.
Maps that are open via the gathering log will indicate areas where gathering points appear. That's a nice. Just when you thought they were done with the quality of life stuff for crafting and gathering, man.
Yeah, they told us about that one last time, and we were all very excited.
A list of fish to be released at fishing holes will be added. So it's, yeah, I mean, they keep adding so much good stuff, like, which will be nice next expansion because they did it all of it this expansion, right? So maybe next we'll see what those resources get allocated to for Endwalker. Ishgardian Restoration update. The Firmament will periodically hold a Skyrise celebration in honor of its restoration. So when this happens, there's going to be fetes that happen. So these celebrations will happen every 2 days, and then in during that 24-hour period, there will be a fete every 2 hours. So there will be 12 fetes per celebration period. So like that's great for leveling more of your crafters. Like holy crap, that's gonna be amazing. We'll also get Count Charlemagne du Darendere for our next custom delivery client.
But does that so it says similar to Fate, so it's probably just something probably similar to what we already had in there when we filled up our little gauge.
Yeah. That's the exact same thing.
I think it's great. Yeah, I think it's great that they're keeping with that. It was unfortunate that once the place was finished that it would just go away, but it's nice. I made
a typo in this. I'll have to fix that later. Let's see. Triple Triad update. They'll be adjusting the use of 4-star cards and decks. Acquisition rates will be adjusted, and a reward will be added for obtaining all of the Triple Triad cards as of 5.55.
I hope it's not something that I want.
Yeah.
I hope it is something.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping that it is something that I want, because I actually like the cards. I don't even really play Triple Triad, and I keep thinking I should try to do it a little bit more, especially now that they've done some of the
open tournament stuff they added is really good. Like if I'm just kind of on and not doing anything, and I'll like look at the clock and I'll be like, yeah, I'll go do Triple Triad for half hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's fun to have, again, something a little bit bonus that drops from stuff that you can get, and I've always been a sucker for just, like, collecting cards or a thing or, you know. So
yeah, I don't collect anything.
No.
Yeah, not even a little bit, Fusion. You don't collect a single thing.
No.
So having
so barren over here, empty shelves.
But then actually making it worthwhile in some kind of regard, I think is great, because this is something that I know a lot of people who like to collect these cards and, you know, will go through and try and beat every single NPC in the game, or who first come across it and they're so passionate about it. But if you do that for long enough and then you're just kind of sitting there going, well, there's not really anything for me to do for this, or, you know, I guess I got everything. Cool. Good job, me. Great job, Poopin. I'll put a star on myself. I did great.
Yeah.
So it's good to see them actually acknowledging that collecting this is a thing, and then give you different benchmarks where you can get different rewards.
Yeah, I mean, and they've done this before. It's basically, you know, every so often it's like, okay, now get all of them and we'll give you something. Now get what is all of them and we'll give you something else. Like they did something similar with Orchestrion rolls when they first came out. If you had gotten, I think it was like 50 or whatever, they give you like the Ultima Orchestrion roll, and then I don't think they did like anything after that, which is kind of a bummer. But
I think there's a couple of
did they add more? Okay. But yeah, Explorer mode is going to get an update, so all of the level 70 dungeons are going to be added. Level sync and item level sync can be disabled, and you'll be able to use instruments in Explorer mode now. So if you want to go into I don't know, anywhere.
Go to Siren Song Sea?
Siren Song Sea?
Yeah, if you just want to go to Siren Song Sea and like play a tambourine, you can do that. That's a thing that you can do.
There, right? Are people still doing sea shanties or no? I don't know. I don't follow the TikToks. I don't know. But you can go there. Yeah, that was a big thing earlier on in the year.
I saw the TikToks. I've always loved sea shanties, but I didn't even think about doing sea shanties in the Siren Song Sea.
Go do it.
So good.
Go do it.
There you go. Miscellaneous updates. Get ready.
Yeah.
This is gonna get good. New indicators for bonuses while ocean fishing. That's just the first one.
Okay.
Cool.
We're getting a new instrument added to performance in 5.55.
Hurdy-gurdy.
Are we?
Cool.
Are we actually? I thought I saw something that said that they weren't able to do that because of development time. Am I just totally?
I mean, this was from the live letter yesterday. It was on the thing, so.
Huh. interesting. Yeah, when I was reading one of the translations, I thought I saw something where they said like we were hoping to put a new instrument in, but we weren't able to. So maybe they were hoping to do it with the release of 5.5, but then they
Yeah,
weren't
maybe
able
it's
to do it 5. And so
Maybe
it's gonna be
that could be.
5.55.
That could be.
Somebody
big,
did
beautiful...
say though.
Yeah.
Somebody did say though during that, I think chat said, "Is it automaton?" And apparently, there was
be.
a little knowing smile that was given on the stream.
It would be cool.
That'd be
so-
hilarious.
So
I wouldn't put it past them at this
Oh,
point.
come on. Yeah.
God, teleporting in Olympus is going to be a nightmare now.
Oh, yeah.
That's all you're going to hear. That's all.
Yep.
I
the
like
big,
it.
beautiful robot dragon mount is going to be coming in if you have all your trial mounts.
I'm still not convinced by it. It's
a-
so tough.
It's a robot and it's a dragon. Like,
I know. I should love it. I should love it. And it's so big and obnoxious. And I love mounts that are big and obnoxious. But I don't know. I just look at it and I just don't feel satisfied. And I'm not sure why.
I'd like a gold Altroid.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Something like that was kind of what I was hoping for.
Fusion
I don't
says
know.
no.
not my kind of mount. I don't know.
Yeah,
Some
it's
people
just,
are gonna love it. Some people are
Yeah.
gonna love it.
Yeah.
yeah, it's just that dragon robot is just, it doesn't articulate enough for me. It's like, I don't know. It looks like
Still
one of
looks
those
better
Power
than
Rangers
the
toys
wolves from
like, the 90s.
Stormblood. All they do is they just
mean,
fly and
true.
just go.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
It
It's
doesn't
kind of like
doesn't
that.
move. It's just
I
that's
just
what
wanna-
they look like.
I just want to know when Final Fantasy. I love the aesthetic. I love the world of Final Fantasy 14. I love it so much,
Mhm.
but I don't know. I don't understand why every time it's like, oh, let's put an animal in the game. We'll put an animal in the game. Well, we don't have unique animations for the faces, so rather than just keeping it in a neutral face, what if we give it a face that's a little bit like sitting there like you didn't have to give it
What?
that.
But you're not
I'm
wrong
just-
though. That you're not wrong.
It's so
I'm just
ugly.
imagining somebody flying on one of their little Okami things, mouth just wide open, just bugs just flying into it. It's like,
Yep.
buddy, if you close your mouth, you don't have to.
He's a dog. He wants to eat bugs.
So uncomfortable, and I don't know like what it is. I don't know if it's a reference directly to some sort of, I don't know, artistic style look. I have no idea, but it is always so uncomfortable. The lion mounts, same
Yeah.
thing. The dogs, same thing. The dragons until they put masks on
They're-
them, same thing.
That's why they put the masks on them.
Mhm.
They all look so terrible, and I just want to know when somebody's.
Oh, I have a bad joke. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Oh.
So, the dragons, they're incestuous. So
Oh,
their
boy.
children, many years down the line, look like those dragons.
Oh boy.
Oh, Zanitra.
I said it was bad. I'm sorry.
I'm so glad we're co-hosts together. At you and terrible joke you made today.
I'm sorry.
It's
Sorry.
okay. It's all right. Yeah. I mean, that's
So
a reason
anyway,
that-
new prizes will be available at the Gold
Yeah.
Saucer if you want Jaundice Namazu.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think
I don't know.
they were coming from the Gold
I
Saucer.
don't know. I mean,
They
they're
mentioned
gold.
Rainmaker, which is
Mhm.
finally it looks like going to be put back into the game so that people can get it.
Yeah.
I believe that
Okay.
Yoshida-san clarified that in a follow-up interview. I'm
Okay.
compiling all
That
of the
would-
yeah, I
information
think so.
that I've stored
That
up.
would be good.
I think in a follow-up interview he confirmed that Rainmaker hair is going to be one of them. So
Which is nice.
Finally.
Yeah.
Finally. One less thing people can keep asking for.
Yeah. We're getting through that list slowly.
Yeah, right? Hotbar slots
But we'll
can now be
always
s-
want new things.
Mm-hmm.
can now be saved when editing an active set of Blue Mage actions.
Oh,
Okay.
thank God.
yay!
For the people that do
Thank
that, yeah, that'll be
God.
very nice.
Yeah.
Very, very nice.
Oh,
Ooh, yeah.
Yes.
And this one was a weird one. I'm really curious what the underlying issues or future content is for this. Collision detection will be updated.
Yeah.
Worried.
He went into it a little bit, and yeah, housing stuff. Yeah, it may not be floating. Be careful.
Worried. Very worried.
Yeah.
If they're doing this just to like unfloat housing items,
Uproarious.
No.
Uproarious.
No,
It's for the orbs, yeah.
yes, to confirm, in the interview and in what he was talking about, the live letter, he did say that they know and acknowledge that players use glitching techniques to float. He said that because of that, they've tried to really work around it so that it hopefully shouldn't actually impact things too much. But he did say that there is a probability, a decent probability, that there will be certain things that are affected. And that if they are, so if you're somebody who has a housing design, maybe you've commissioned one, maybe you did it yourself, anything like that, go into your houses after this update, check to see if anything is out of place. And if it is, they said to submit a ticket and let them know what was affected and or like how you did it. And then they're going to be trying to work through the system to fix those things. So there may be things that you yourself have to move back or, you know, whatever it is, but they do want to know what was affected and why so that they can then work around it. I mean, obviously the big hope is that at least with this, if they're working on some of these systems and the collision and stuff, maybe in the future we see the next step, which would be to make it so you didn't have to glitch everything to just put it and float it somewhere. But that's not the case right now. So they are aware of it and they tell everybody just to take a look, double check it, and then let them know so that they can, on their side, fix things so that whatever glitch you've used isn't suddenly rendered incomplete.
So they can like break fix.
Yeah. At least figure out what happened to it. Yeah. And then go, okay, all right, well, we can fix that in the future, you know. You'll probably have to refloat it in a different way, but hopefully if they had to change it again,
I feel like ultimately, wouldn't it just be easier to make it a float option? Instead of like, okay, which glitched thing got unglitched that we need to then re-glitch? Just let us float housing objects.
Hopefully they're doing it and they just have to unravel the spaghetti code first, right?
Maybe.
Yeah, it's probably that things have to sit on other things and they're like, it literally can't be floating except for like these specific items, and they're gotta open it to everything and then retest
they gotta
it.
butter up them noodles, slide them apart.
There was an attempted translation of the more technical, in-depth discussion about how things like this work. And from what I understand of the attempted translation, which was not, it was a little spicy in some spots because it's a little bit difficult to sort of relay a lot of this. But from what I understand, it has something to do with the way that Final Fantasy as a game communicates information. So like your position or like things positioned in space, like I believe are recorded on your end and then sent to the actual like servers and games, which causes like, this is partly why they're doing some of these things to mitigate delays or issues or like weird lag where like you're moving and stuff. Yeah. Or like you might be jumping around because there is this like extra delay in how that information is communicated, which I assume also probably puts more, I don't know, communication burden overall, just sort of as it like transfers down and the chance of delay or issues is greater. So I'm not exactly sure how all of that ties into the housing, and I'm not a programmer or anything myself, but I think some of it does have to do with the way that like information is recorded and then sent and how that can affect where things are in space. But should they just put something in from a convenient standpoint for players to be able to do this? Yes, because it is a huge part of the game, but housing has its own huge list of issues. So whatever is causing some of these problems.
And if you'd like to hear about those issues, listen to any of the episodes from the last year. I'm sure we've talked about them. Yeah. Let's see. Save
Before
the Queen
we go
updates.
on to the next part,
yes.
There were new housing pieces.
Yes.
Yeah.
So good.
So there's two big ones, kind of three.
Literally big.
The first one that was really interesting to me. There's a new like a house glamour. Yeah. And it's drastically different than anything we've seen. There's like steps that go up to the balcony, and like it's pretty crazy just how different it is from everything, which is really cool to see. The second one is, I think he called it like a projector. I will spend money on I will, if I have to give you $20 on the Mog Station to get an Amarot projector, I will.
It's so big, and like if you look at houses at all, or if you're into designing your own, You see people all the time try and take the picture frames and like put them behind things to make it look like there's a scene outside of their window. And this
Right.
particular thing is going to make that so easy with so fewer items, and I'm ready for it.
Mhm.
Because it's an animated image of various locales, so it actually looks like things are happening outside and you can see them through the window. Like, I
It's great.
love it. It's fantastic. It's amazing. Thank you.
I will
And
put
this thing-
Amrot on all my walls. Like
Oh,
I
the
just
wall.
seriously like that.
This
oh
thing-
my god.
the thing that Fusion said earlier with the stairs up to the balcony, and the fact that they are trying to, while fixing something, keep something broken so that we can keep doing our housing glitches.
Yeah.
It's just more testament to the fact that they do listen. So if you have a
Exactly.
problem with the game, speak
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. This new it kind of seems like a blacksmith themed kind of house shenanigan. It's
Yeah,
very Ishgardian, obviously, but
Yes,
there are
exactly.
these different.
It's
sort
like
of
a
furnaces.
smithy kind of
Smithy
a
kind
shop. Yeah. And there's already like I forget, it's like a armor crafting or a blacksmith kind of exterior.
Yeah.
I have it. I can't remember what exactly it's called, but I have it. But this is another one. It's a little more cottagey.
It's like the machinist place in Ishgard.
Mhm.
It to me, it's almost exactly like what you would see, right? It's
Yeah.
not that building, because that building is just brown and
It's all stone.
wood.
Yeah.
But-
it's
yeah.
definitely a different exterior than we've seen
Yeah.
before, which is really cool. I mean, everything usually, if there's anything different, like shape wise, it's like because there's like a giant carbuncle on a pole
Yeah.
somewhere or something, right? But this one has like steps on it, and like that's really cool. Like that's I
makes
feel
me-
like that's kind of opening up a lot of possibilities for what this
Yes.
stuff can look like now.
For sure. And it makes me really excited about not only us getting different things like this that really vary up the kind of feel of houses, but also maybe at some point even getting these like larger scale additions that you could freely kind of place or move, or that would change the appearance of the outside of your house without having to take up, 1,000,000 yard slots or
Right.
things like that, which would be great. And then they
Yeah.
also showed, just to kind of ramble off some of the other ones, additional things that look like smithy stuff. So, but like an armor table, and you've got the armor stand, which we've already had, and blacksmithing things, and this sort of forge. They showed us this big open book that looks
Yeah.
kind of fun for spellcasters.
It
or...
reminds
Mhm.
me of crap, not Demon Wall, but like the Demon Book,
Yeah.
whatever dungeon that I think it's that book.
Yeah, it's kind of like
I
that.
could be mistaken, but I think that's the book.
There's also a sort of, it looks like a spool, like where you like wind yarn around, kind of like a spool table that's really
Mhm.
big. There's the shark plushie. Is that something that already exists in the game that they just put on top
No,
of the
that's right.
table?
There's a beautiful little shark plushie.
There's
and
a
you can
little
just sit
shark
it- You
plushie.
can just sit it right on your table.
He's so
and it's
cute.
great.
There's like a violin display
So
case
soft.
that would be great for
Yeah.
musicians or people who might be creating instruments or crafting instruments. There's also, and this one I was so excited about, for any of our apothecary role players, it looks like there is now a large scale wall of jars that
Yeah.
you can get, as opposed to having to float 5,000 of those little potion things.
Just a
to
big
try
old
and-
shelf of jars. I mean, that way, you can get the serum to Richard before he dies.
Mhm.
Ri-
It looks like maybe a new painting, some new food things, a tabletop thing that's like a basket that has apples. There's a
Yeah.
bunch
Yeah.
of new stuff, and yes, this animated window I think is really the game changer. But
That's
table,
I can't wait.
mushroom
I can't
lamp.
wait.
So
yeah,
cool.
there's a lot of little things, and I was surprised, to be completely honest, how many new furnishing items are coming. Oh,
Right.
there's like a little beer. It looks like a little beer advertisement standee
Mhm.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
I saw that. Ivory in the chat says, I wonder regarding the projector, if this will allow us to watch events in game someday. I honestly, I don't think that the game has the infrastructure to do that, but holy shit, if they could let us use a projector in a house to watch FanFest.
Yeah.
It would be awesome.
That's
very
like that's the housing end game.
That
right
is
there.
beyond nerdery, I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
I've seen streamers
not
in
in a bad
particular-
way, not in a judgment
okay,
way.
Mhm.
okay.
I've seen streamers in particular who will do things where they create a fake green screen in a house using, the various green tones
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
dyes and things.
Yeah,
And then they'll like put up a stream where everybody's sitting in like the living room looking at it, and then on their end they can put over
Right.
footage of an
Yeah.
event or something. which is a cute and fun idea, and also something you can do just for funsies if you want for friends.
Yeah, I
when it
mean,
comes
yeah,
to
it's
FanFest.
Fortnite has done. I mean, Fortnite ran some like Christopher Nolan movies. It
Yeah.
came. Phantasy Star 2, Phantasy Star
Mhm.
Online 2, does something similar. I mean, it's not impossible, but again,
I
that
can't
wonderful code that makes up Final Fantasy 14.
I can't
Who
imagine
knows?
that they would be able to do it for like everybody's individual house, but maybe we could see something like a theater introduced into the
Mhm.
game where you could go and people could actually like file in or something. That'd be fun.
Yeah, and and it's funny because we talk about how like nerdy that would be, but they also have, and we'll talk about this a little bit in more detail. There's like FanFest G post filters and stuff that are coming out. So
Yeah.
especially this year of all years, right? To be able to like watch a FanFest like with your free company or something, that would be really
Yeah.
cool. But
Would be nice.
and you still can, just not in game.
Yeah.
So, all right, that'll take
It's
us
always
into
more fun with friends.
Mhm.
yeah, our Save the Queen updates. So we're gonna get our new battlefield, Zadnor, which sounds like an alien planet from like an early like 60s sci-fi movie. I am
Definitely.
from Zadnor.
What's that movie? Sounds almost the same with crap. Sean
Like
Connery.
Rooster or something like that.
Sean Connery.
Oh,
Where he's
no
got like
idea.
the terrible red bondage outfit.
I have no
I'm
idea.
gonna look it up.
The pictures of
I
this
know what you're
actually-
talking about, but I can't remember the name of it now.
The pictures of this, minus the Sean Connery that's weirdly in the screenshots in a
Yeah.
red sort of bodysuit. The pictures look really cool.
God,
I
if we
really-
did custom episode images.
I
Zardoz.
really like. Oh, I've never even heard of that.
Nope.
It is a weird movie. It's a very weird movie.
What's the
I really-
inspiration for this area?
Yeah, it's the inspiration. I really like that, kind of in contrast to the Battlefield vibe, this one does feel more natural, sort of like Eureka. But
Mhm.
obviously there are still places, and we've got this kind of big airship in the background.
and
almost.
I think that's gonna be our new Castrum equivalent.
I could see that for sure.
Yeah, so this will be the final chapter for Save the Queen. The resistance cap is going to go from 15 to 25. Obviously, with this new area, we'll have new critical engagements and new skirmishes. And then they say the Dalriata is a new large-scale assault. Max of 48 players will be added. That's probably the airship. It's probably the airship. Elements of progression beyond rank 25 will be implemented. I wonder if that's not going to be similar to just like the gear upgrade stuff that we had with Boja and with Delabram. A means to increase mount speed will be added. Skirmishes and critical engagements will be adjusted for fewer participants. They're already trying to make it a little bit accessible once it starts to die out. Availability of large-scale assaults like Castrum will be adjusted. Which will be, I'll be curious to see if they make it happen more. Probably happen more, would be my guess, because that I think that's the only reason people are going into Boja nowadays is for Castrum.
Yep.
The chance of being selected for duels will now increase upon non-selection. So if you don't get picked, you got a better chance the next time, I guess. That's nice.
Right.
And then again, just that prep of old content, right? Delabram Savage will now be adjusted to allow between 24 and 48 participants. So if you don't have that full 48, you can still go in.
I wonder what that does to the difficulty, right?
Yeah, I've been wondering too if they're gonna have a version that's 24 that's
Yeah.
maybe more balanced that damage output.
That's a good question.
Because WoW does it with flex raids, and there's some scaling there, and there's some points where honestly some people are told just leave. No, you make the DPS requirement higher. We can't. No, we need 20. We need 30 people instead of 31 because you being here makes it so that we can't kill it. I hope that they don't scale it that way.
Me too. It's terrible. I didn't even realize how much that was kind of. On one hand, it's not a problem because it flexes and adjusts, but on the other hand, especially when it comes to like having people that might be trying content or might be part of your guild or might be like part of this. I've been watching my partner raid in WoW, and I couldn't
Yeah.
believe it the first time they told me that, yeah, their raid lead that night had been like, yeah, well, if any of you dip below, X, Y, or Z DPS threshold, you're not even worth being here, so you'll leave, and
Mhm.
then it'll be easier for us. And I was like, I get numerically why this is a thing, but what a hostile environment. And they had
It's
some
crazy.
huge issues. Like they had people who, yeah, like came into raid with their partner or something, or whoever their significant other was, and then that person got kicked without even being told, and then they're up in arms, and it's so terrible. So I don't know what they're gonna do. I kind of envision them doing something where you can either queue as 24
Yeah.
or 48,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
I don't know.
We'll just have to wait and see. I mean, with the idea of these Unreal trials and stuff, we've been kind of wondering, like, are they working on, is this kind of a test to see if they can scale content, or maybe, I mean, this would be potentially another kind of test for bigger content. We'll just have to kind of wait and see how it works.
With modern MMOs, you have to be able to flex, because getting 20 to 48 people is kind of difficult.
Well, and it takes me back to when we had the second fan fest with the Ultima Weapon trial, where it was a 24-man trial. And then the patch came out, and it was like, oh no, it's just like, if you flag this quest, he shows up in Dunskythe. And we're like, but it was a trial. And he's like, no, why did you think that? Because you had us play a trial at FanFest. What do you mean, why did we think? Well, it's like, yeah, but if it's like a 24-person trial, like, that's going to suck for queues. That's kind of what this is.
Yeah. I'm glad that they're working on it. This is progress, and I'd love to see how it scales, right?
Yeah. And I mean,
if they
and
get it right, they're good.
And I mean, to be fair, there is still a very active Discord even for things like Baldesion Arsenal. There's still Baldesion Arsenal groups that are running. So I do think that Final Fantasy XIV as a community will do these things if the prestige or interest or feel or rewards are good enough. If it feels like this is something unique that they can specialize in and they can get other people into, and that they can sort of make the backbone of what they want to run or accomplish. I absolutely think that people will still do it. It just kind of depends on the scaling, and it depends again on how kind of long term I think the payoff for doing it is. Does it feel as satisfying as working your way through all of Eureka to just manage to claw your way through Baldesion? I don't know. I don't know if it's going to motivate people in the same way, but it's a cool piece of content.
I mean, Ivory's got it in the chat. Ozma mount is just that cool.
Yeah, really.
It is, really, and I don't think the Cerberus mount is cool enough to really make people want it. I think.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about the Cerberus mount.
I like it a lot.
Okay. I think it's cool. I don't dislike the mount, but I think as far as something that, like when you look at the actual mounts themselves, right? The Ozma mount is so neat. It not only changes shape, but it's completely unique to almost any other mount visual in game. And the reflections on it are actually unique as well. And it is this like big, I don't know, just very obvious epitome of a thing. It has that kind of like ring effect around it. It's really neat. Whereas the Cerberus mount, while cool, doesn't actually really tie into the theme of the content. It doesn't really have I don't think it has special graphics or additional things that it does it?
It's 4-person.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 4-person. Okay, there's that.
I don't know. I like it more.
Interesting. I mean, that's totally fair. I would have preferred, I think, the Queen's chair. I think that would have been
that's really surprising that wasn't a mount. Yeah, that seems really weird to me. It's always interesting how wildly our opinions vary on mounts of all things, right? Robot Dragon, no. Robot Dragon's the best thing ever. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I mean,
there's also the face of the Cerberus too, like you were saying, Rook. Like it's stuck. The face of the Cerberus. The faces of the Cerberus.
Even if each of the different heads had their own kind of animation that they did periodically and like a little even that I think would have been something fun. Or you could do, I don't know, a minimizing effect on somebody where if they they spit a puddle on the ground and then they run in it and they'd go
funny. So we like Ozma because it doesn't have a face?
Yeah, I mean part of it. Maybe.
Sure. Well, I think Ozma's just distinctive. Ozma as a boss design as well is something that, again, compared to the whole game, is very different.
I think if you took all the mounts and just like put them in a row, I'd look at Ozma and be like, oh, that one looks like it's from something cool. If I saw Cerberus, I'd look at that, and then I'd look at like the Behemoth mount from the 2.0 Collector's Edition, and I'd be like,
Hmm.
I don't know. It's
Same vibes.
It's personal preference, of course.
Yeah.
Oh,
of course.
absolutely. And that's why they design a variety of different things, because different things will appeal to different players. I just think for me, it personally didn't feel quite as much of a motivator, but I'm sure other people were super, super into it. And I still want to complete the content just because I think the content is cool. But it is just one of those things where I do wonder if it's going to stay kind of as prestigious long term as something like Baldesion Arsenal, those niche groups that are running it.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting because, you know, one of the other aspects of it too, you have to go to Gungus, you have to talk to the NPC to queue up.
Right.
I'm curious if they'll ever add that to Duty Finder. You know, it's that idea, right? Of, you know, again, Wondrous Tales. It's like, oh, you got to go over here, you got to talk to the people, you got to do it. Just like, let me hit a button and queue in, and But you know, I think, I mean, right now we're still seeing people do Delibram. The queues are still, you know, pretty quick, but you also need, like, you know, 1 million clears for your relic weapon too that people are still working on. So I'll be really curious how things change over time. You know, it's like that thing with Eureka. There's really nobody doing it now, but every so often you still have people that will do a BA run. So
I was glad, this little footnote that you added about Zetnor, that they're not taking away being able to use a mount or anything. There's just going to be a way to increase your mount speed.
Yeah.
A means to increase mount speed is added. As I look over it, that's such a relief coming off of Eureka. Oh, that's just going to be so good. And I think a lot of these adjustments, I'm actually really excited to see this zone, to see the new content, because I think that even Boja growing from Eureka has been huge. I think they really did overall with this content have such a good evolution from Eureka. They really addressed a lot of those problems. And even now, the fact that we're seeing in all these notes for the live letter that they're going to be, again, going back and addressing the balance of previous stuff. Like, it always felt like with Eureka, it was kind of a, oh geez, oh man, yeah, that does suck. Oh geez, okay, well, I guess we'll fix it. And then like months later, it kind of maybe gets addressed, and then even months later, it gets addressed, but then nobody was playing it anymore.
Right.
So I think it's really nice to see them, with that knowledge they must have gained from Eureka, to start going, okay, we know right off the bat that we have to be adjusting things. We had that hot fix to adjust things. We have to make this something that retroactively we can still get people into and working through. And I think it's worth it because this content is fun and it showcases some unique ideas and some unique new types of content.
Yeah, and I think the thing that makes it even more critical for them to be a little bit more on top of that is, like Eureka had a story, but I think the Boja story is way better. And because of that, you know, they're like, one of the issues up until the last patch, right, was, okay, I need to be able to do Castrum to progress the story, but nobody's doing Castrum now. And that was a huge issue.
Yep.
And so, you know, they need to still make, you know, things accessible for people to get through and get these quests done. So, yeah, they got to stay on top of it. With this, we'll get the final step in the resistance weapon upgrades. So this will come with unlocking Zadnor during 5.55. Stats will be slightly better, they say, than those on the Eden's Promise Savage weapons.
That's
Slightly
similar
better.
to the face I made. It's like, excuse me?
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about this.
A friend of mine suggested that they're not going to have the ability to meld on them.
Maybe.
I haven't been keeping up with the weapons, so I actually don't have a clue. While the Eden ones do, so they might even out to about the same, depending on the stats on them.
You get the Delibram step done, you can actually basically tell it how much of what stat you want.
Yeah, so it's like you're naturally melding it rather than being able to put materia in it. So it might even out to approximately the same.
Yeah, it'll be close enough.
And it'll yeah, I mean, the thing that's really nice too, I mean, because you get, oh gosh, I forget the number, but you get like a hefty allotment of points, and you can just put it into whatever. So, you know, if you maybe don't have your, you know, your best in slot build, but you know, you can tweak a couple numbers in whatever direction, like this is like the perfect weapon, right? Because you can make it, you know, whatever you need it to.
But now I'm bummed because I was like, I don't care about this at all. It's never as good as the final one, and it is, if not better.
Well,
so now I'm like, oh, guess I should have been doing that when everyone else was.
Well,
How
I
many
mean,
people are still doing it? There's still
Yeah.
time.
and the thing is, it's probably, I mean, tell me if my perspective is just skewed on this, because I actually don't know. The pandemic makes time feel funny. Everything
true.
makes time feel funny right now. So I don't know if this is the case. But it seems to me, compared to Heavensward, compared to Eureka, the amount of time, energy, investment, and like different just levels and variations and new appearances and things, this one feels drastically shorter to me overall. And that whole first step is basically just, and maybe this is why, that whole first step is basically just null and void. If you've got the poetics, it's like,
Yeah.
just do that, you're done. And so it's kind of strange to me that for what at least has felt like the least amount of time investment is now giving us something that might be the most amount of reward that we've gotten as far as relic weapons go. And I don't know exactly how I feel about it. I don't feel bad. I don't ever feel like the kind of person that, believes that unless you're just a serious player, you shouldn't have good things in this game. Like, it's so dumb. I'm like, whether or not you raid, it doesn't matter. Are you enjoying the world? Are you having fun? Are you playing what you want to play? Playing the game and you are doing great, You don't have to do that stuff. And you should still be able to, like, not be left in the dust just because, maybe you couldn't clear E12S or whatever it is, So I don't mind it, but it does feel a little bit strange to me.
To me, the thing that I always go to, because it's complicated, right? I basically play MMOs to raid, right? So I want that prestigious kind of feeling to be alongside with raids, because they're supposed to be hard. They're supposed to be, But to me, the relic is basically for people who don't raid, or specifically for raiders and no one else, right? Because either you want it because it's better and it's going to help you progress, right? Because you can't get to E12S yet, or you want it because you're like, I need a weapon and this is the easiest way I have because I don't raid. But if you get it as a non-raider, you literally have nothing to use it on. That's always the thing that always makes me go, wait, okay, but there's no reason for you to have.
That's
it, right?
that's literally every ultimate weapon in every game, though.
It's
I
true.
beat the big bad. Now I got this great weapon to. Oh, I already beat the big bad. Like
Right.
the way that I see this, right, is if you're raiding, right, let's say you complete, like, you get through E12 and you get a weapon, whatever, like, great, cool, you've done it, you have a weapon, it'll make things just a little bit easier in other content, right? If you don't raid, you have a casual, right? I mean, it's still a grind, like, it's still
certainly
very much a grind. But then, you'll get this weapon, and again, right, it'll make, dungeons just a little bit better, whatever. But then if you choose to go into raiding, which at that point, it's going to be unlocked a little bit, it'll make things that much smoother for you. And I'm okay with that idea, like that, so it's, and in another 5 months or whatever, we'll get an expansion and you'll be able to buy a stronger and weapon than these from an NPC for like 1,000 gil. So
yeah, it's just go ahead.
I miss how the very first relic was. I kept up with the very first relic because if you did it quickly, then it was better than your first augmentation step of the weapons that raiders were getting. It was worth doing, and it did help you progress in raid faster. I wish, honestly, that relic was still worth doing for that extra damage step up while you were raiding tiers. Having it be better than the tier after you're done with the tier is like, this isn't useful to me, except now I want it because it's better than what I have.
Right, exactly.
I really like that thought, because I mean, the idea of, like, especially with like Final Fantasy, right, that relic weapon, the ultimate weapon, right, that you can get, like, it should be good. Like, I mean, not that it's not, but like, you should be able to use it to work on stuff, and not just be like, okay, well, this is now that I have this done, I'll be able to use it in the new expansion for, like, up to, like, 86 or something, because it's going to be better than dungeon gear. Like, it should be more relevant when it's out versus
I feel like
after.
Zen and Fusion, you've both brought up really good points that I totally agree with. And you're right in that, Fusion, I'd never really thought necessarily about the fact that something like this could also empower people to get into endgame content who might not have, which is totally fair. I mean, a lot of times a big hurdle is just your gear and, feeling as though, oh, well, I can't get into this because I haven't done whatever else and I just don't know. And maybe, my numbers are going to be so low because I just don't have the stuff. So having the stuff that then makes it a smoother transition, I think is really great. I also, though, conversely, totally agree with Zen because as somebody who has been raiding now for the last two expansions back through Stormblood, and has been clearing through the tiers, it's been one of those things where it does feel rewarding as a Savage player to get to the end and not just get your fancy mount, but to also go, wow, I put in the effort. We ran this. We beat our heads against it. We re-cleared it every brutal week until everybody had their best in slot. And now I'm set. And there is a really good feeling when you come through that, and especially leading into a new expansion where you're just like, I am set, I'm good, I have like one of the best weapons. And while there have definitely been previous relic weapons, I know like Ivory's been saying in chat and things, where yes, there are certain steps at certain times that are actually better than what's happening with the raid. I do think what Zen brought up about the timing on this one is really big because it does feel weird. And it feels weirdly like it's negating that effort to even raid in the first place to some degree, where, I mean, of course, you're still clearing it, and that's still prestigious in and of itself, which Fusion is also why I think that those weapons that come from Ultimate, right? Like we talked about with the Ozma mount, the reward there isn't stats. The reward there is the rarity and the special, aesthetic and graphics of those weapons, which tells everybody else that can see it, I accomplished this thing. So when it comes to these kinds of weapons and things, and with relic weapons, right, part of the aesthetic of those weapons or the lore behind those weapons or things like that is part of the prestige reward for just spending the time on it. But I do believe that with raids, the prestige reward as well comes from overcoming this incredibly difficult content to have what would be considered best in slot. So here at the very end of everything, on one hand, do I think that enabling people to have good gear and, have a good new weapon, even if they haven't been able to raid, is good for going into the new X pack. But at the same time, by timing it right where it is so that this new may be better, which again, I think it could just even out. I don't think it necessarily has to be miles ahead, but it does create this energy that I think might be a little bit off-putting for people that, just maybe got their E12S weapon and finally got through those clears and finally got through. And now it's like, oh, well, if I'd run Delabrum 100
Instead
times.
of
Well, and I think a part of this as well is, again, right, timing. People have been able to get that 12S weapon for a while now, and so naturally in a game you're gonna get stronger stuff that comes out. So the 12S people, they've had their time, depending on how early they beat it or not, but
it's one of those age-old questions about MMOs, right? Especially any MMO that has rating in it, that gear has to be very good because there's a lot of things you have to do it. You sacrifice your time alongside of 7 to, in other MMOs, 40, 39 other people. So it's like they have to be really good. That gear has to be really good. But then it serves no purpose because you've already beaten it. But the relic is the same. Like, you get the relic, and what are you going to do if you're not a raider? I'm going to do my experts a little bit faster. So it's really the prestige, and it's really the feeling of the timing that rankles people. Like, I honestly don't care. I wish I had known it would have been last step, because I would have done it along the way. Because I just assumed that, hey, the rating one will be better. But now that I see,
it's our fault for assuming that it would be like the last 2 expansions.
Yeah,
right.
And the timing is the rough part, right? Because Rook, like you said, maybe somebody just cleared 12S, and now 2 weeks, well, this will be 5.55, right?
Yeah,
but somebody finally gets their thing, and then it's just that's gonna happen. Like that's gonna be a thing. So
it's gonna happen.
I don't think it's like I'm not angry. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's kind of interesting to break it down because I think there are going to probably be a lot of mixed feelings about it depending on what those stats end up being. And to me, I mean, like, I never mind if other people are empowered to do more, have more. And it's a big selling point for why I talk about Final Fantasy XIV to people, because so many times people will ask me, well, if I get into Final Fantasy 14, am I gonna be able to ever get caught up with everybody? I mean, if I want to do endgame content and I get through all the story, is it even feasible for me at this point to do things and get the gear that I need to be able to do that? And so many people get disheartened because of other games like World of Warcraft or stuff like that, where, oh my gosh, that end game level, like the item level cycle and everything, it is so punishing. And there does sometimes, depending on the expansion, come a point where you're like, if I try and get into it now, good luck. Like, there's very little chance I'm going to be able to do this. But with 14, they've always been really good about empowering players retroactively, and like no matter where you are in whatever thing in the expansion, you're usually able to get geared and get into stuff without too much hassle. It just sort of depends on whether or not people are still running stuff really actively, but the gearing itself is not prohibitive.
Right.
So that's good, and I don't mind it. But I do feel like the timing on this one, particularly with the weapons maybe being a little bit easier to get as far as grind goes with Relic, and or more repetitive. I mean, not saying that it's, again, it's super exciting, but like it feels a little bit funky this time around. And I kind of feel like they're going to get some, criticism about that if this weapon really does end up being better significantly in some kind of way.
And it's, I thought it was really interesting too, how you said that the grind doesn't feel as long with this one. And everybody that I've seen, myself included, like every time I look at that little counter, I'm working on my second one right now, and I'm like, I think I'm like 4 or 5 out of 15 Delbrum runs. Every time I look at the counter, I'm just like, ugh. Like,
But you already
don't
did
want
one.
to do it. Well, right. But it's just, I think just, it's going to vary per person, right? But I think a lot of people right now are just like, any kind of grind, they're over it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
which is
on paper, yeah, maybe it is shorter, but in here, in our mind, it's the worst thing ever.
Right. And you could get into, and I don't want to, because once again, I don't care about this weapon. I literally only really play MMOs to raid, and I don't care that a weapon outside of raid is better than a raiding one. Whatever, I'll get it too. But the thing is, you start getting people who say, oh, well, I should get it because I had to do this many Delabrums, right? Well, how much time is that? Is that more than trying to learn it? Like, let's not try and quantify that, right? Because like, if you had to learn Savage raiding, like, what are you doing? 3 hours a night? 2 to 4 hours a week? That is going to murder Delubrium in a couple of weeks, right? Like, that's way more time investment than this grind. So it's one of those things where it's like on both sides, people are going to be like, well, it's harder to get this way, or it's more virtuous to get this way, and we gotta not do that. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, there's no place for like shaming people about this.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, and that always drives me nuts. I get so sick of hearing casual and hardcore tossed around as these, like, vitriolic words, because when it comes down to it, we're all playing games and we probably engage with either end of content to some degree.
Exactly.
Or are in touch with it. And for me, I'm just like, games are about having fun and enjoying things. And sure, sometimes having fun has different meanings and parameters, and what you find rewarding versus what just might be something that you giggled at or you enjoyed or just enjoy doing for funsies. Like, sure, there's a different range in there. But when it comes down to it, every single person that plays this game, supports this game, contributes to the community, contributes to the ongoing development of the game. And it's so important to remember that in these kinds of discussions. I mean, if somebody gets the weapon one way or another, it literally does not matter.
Yeah, well, and talking about like gear and everything like that, like, you don't need this relic to finish E12S.
Yeah.
People finished E12S with freaking
Minimum
Exarchic gear.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter.
For me, it's like I preferred when the relic was useful ahead of the raid, because it was something else to do, and it was just that little extra thing that I could do to be better
Prepare
for my static.
Exactly.
It wasn't necessary. I didn't have to do it. It felt good to be prepared, like Charles said, to do everything that I possibly could, use everything available to be the best that I could.
Yeah.
Like, no one ever was.
And I think that helps contribute to the content and variety of content too, right? Because you are getting people then more actively into stuff like that while it's being released and happening. So yeah, I think overall, I am excited to see the end aesthetic on this.
Definitely.
I kind of wish we'd had more cosmetic steps, because for me personally, I'm all about having the billion different varieties of cosmetics and upgrades and see how it looks and see what it, what is it going to do for my glam? What's it going to be?
Mhm.
You know,
How many steps was this?
Yes, but at the same time, I was going back and looking at the 2.0 relic a while back. There's so many steps.
That's what I was actually going to
relic,
say. How many steps is this? Like 4?
And it's like, okay,
so.
now this step, you have like the base one, but it changes color. And then it glows. And then after that, it glows a little bit more. And then after that, it glows slightly different.
Yep.
Like, how many of these do we need? Really? Like, give me a non-glowy one, give me a glowy one, move on to a new model.
To be fair, they learned from that. They were like,
did.
that was too many. Okay.
Yeah.
I honestly feel like, for me personally, the most rewarding one was probably Heavensward, as far as the variety of appearances, the variety of tasks you were doing, the interest of the story, and just having done that, I feel good, because I'm like, well, if I go through this whole grind, I've got a ton of different appearances that I can put on, and I got a fun little minion, and I got this little thing, and I had this unique. But the actual kind of feel of the originals, like 2.0 slash, just like the A Realm Reborn, I think that one felt the most like an actual relic weapon, right? Because it's based to be, this is an iconic weapon of your class. And don't get me wrong, I do think that, especially for people who want more than one, having it be shorter here and having it be something that is more streamlined, I think is way better. I think, you shouldn't just be making people do stuff just to do stuff just endlessly forever.
Right. Well, and as the game gets older, right, you're going to have people that do have those other classes leveled, so that they are going to want to repeat it. And it's funny talking about all the glowy versions and stuff of that 2.0 relic. You know which one I glamour the most? The stage 1 prototype. Yeah. That you can't even die.
We have so few special effect weapons in the game, so few, other than like the extreme primals and things. Having this be something that gives you those extra looks, and I glam them pretty freely on various characters. Having something that gives you those looks, I think, is good. I would kind of like to see them, I think, for the next one, and we'll see what happens to this last step. I have no idea. But I'd like to see them for the next one kind of swing a little bit back towards, adding a few maybe extra things and a little more variety of different types of content. And some of the weird balance with like Boja being the least effective way to get this was really weird to me, with it being so deeply connected to Bojan lore. So I want to see how they keep kind of expanding.
I would love it to be more connected to the AF weapon as well. Yeah. I think they could do some really cool lore stuff.
Yeah. Keep role quests, make job weapons. Please.
Yeah. So right, that was one of the things, right, with Shadowbringers, was we don't have all those job quests that we would normally have, right? We get the one at the end this time, and that's it. Yeah. But like if you make that AF weapon part of the relic thing, you can just sprinkle in lines here and there stuff. And kind of help fill that gap a little bit more, and I think that would be really, really good.
Yeah, that's why I like the 2.0 ones, because they seemed more individualized. Now we're like, hey, there's a weapon that somebody used in the past, and you can use it. Well, did they even have summoners here? Yeah, totally. Well, why? I don't know.
But it's not even the weapon that they used in the past. It's just a replica. Like, this is... I also don't particularly care for the premise. Like, I love the idea of the blades of, like, them being what we're doing, but it feels so weird to me how much they did to mitigate the importance of these weapons. Like, if I'm gonna do something like this, I want this to be like, you go out, you find the original, you rescue it from the Garleans, you bring it back, we nurture this puppy, we make it beautiful again.
Right. It's like I got this Captain America shield replica. It's made of plastic. It's not made of vibranium. Like, and I'm gonna take this fake plastic look. I mean, it looks really nice, but it's not gonna do crap. What if we infuse it with the memories of the dead from various better? Okay, still
plastic.
Yeah, I mean, even like infusing it with the previous memories of the past owners of the original weapons would have felt more engaging to me. But
all of that plastic. Said, PS5s.
Yes, PS5.
Oh, you're trying.
I have one more note, because we're talking about the replica aspect of it. If you do Dalibrum, there's a chance that you can get furniture items that are statues of the little one of the 4 like little chess piece kind of guys.
Mhm.
and they all have that relic weapon
Yep.
on them.
Oh, interesting.
And so I'm
yeah.
thinking of like, oh, cool. So my relic, we got this furniture piece, and we just like took it from this little toy, and we're just okay, yeah, sure,
That's where it came from.
yeah. I appreciate that little attention to detail though, that they have
Yeah.
that actual model. Like that was nice.
Well,
Okay,
I believe it's because they're actually the transformed bearers of those weapons.
Yeah.
Turned
Yeah,
into
yeah.
pawns for the queen, which is
Yep. That's
extra.
cool.
Yes. Again.
stabbed him right in the heart. It's real good.
PlayStation 5 and a couple little things for PC people as well. So with the patch coming out again, we never actually mentioned that April 13th, by the way, coming real quick.
Yeah.
Like how we've been talking about the patch this whole time and didn't even say when it was coming out. Go us. All right.
It's out right now. Haha. Just
Literally,
kidding.
We got it.
probably like the
Incredible.
first thing on this post that we did. So with this, the beta for the PlayStation 5 client is going to be coming out. So if you are currently playing on PlayStation 4, you'll be able to download the PS5 Upgrade Edition. Another typo. Great. I need to drink more coffee before I do these.
Don't call yourself out, man. They'll never know.
I mean, they'll never know anyway. I'm going to fix it before they look at it. New players, if you are not currently playing on the PlayStation 4, you'll be able to download the PlayStation 5 version of the free trial. And so this will go live on April 13th once the maintenance for the patch is done. Obviously, we talked a little bit about this before, but quick recap, PS5 version will have faster loading times, 4K display compatible, with options for 4K 2160p, WQHD 1440p, or Full HD 1080p. High resolution UI assets,
That is
It's
super,
gonna be real
which
pretty.
super interesting.
will be coming to the Windows version.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get that. I dual sense haptic feedback. I love that.
Yeah.
If you have not had a chance to play a PlayStation 5 yet, people who talk about the triggers and how they can like change tension and stuff, it is the most amazing magical wizardry I have ever seen in a controller. It's fantastic. And then there's going to be additional trophies and 3D audio support. So there you go. Across the board, loading times are going to be sped up on all platforms.
Nice.
Okay, we'll take that. And then one
But
of the
your floating
other...
house pieces are gonna fall down.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah. Another one that is just kind of coming across the board. There really wasn't a great place to put this one. They are changing the target ring
Mm-hmm.
on mobs. That'll have 2 extra arrows that show what direction the target is facing.
What?
It'll be on the left and right side, and it'll point towards where the
so
front of the mob is.
so like this is gonna be terrible, but under a mob, right? You have a circle, and then there's that little bit that like points up or straight, right, where it's facing. And so now on the inside of that ring, they're gonna have 2 other arrows that are pointing towards that direction, just to make it a little easier to tell where that monster is facing. Now the problem,
Especially for omnidirectional, because omnidirectional is a full circle and you can't see the
Okay,
flank.
that's fair
Right.
for omnidirectional.
Right.
For the other ones, it's like there's a big open part at the back. You don't need that.
But
Yeah,
for the
well.
omnidirectional, like the directional stuff doesn't matter. So why include
So
that?
that you
That's
so that
my
you don't
thing.
so that you don't get cleaved, so that you
Yeah,
know where
It's
the
important to
front
know where
is.
he's facing.
Right.
Okay. I
Yeah.
think I would rather see them do something to break up the circle for frontal and sides and rear
Mm-hmm.
versus just this is the front is this way.
I see.
Like have a line break or something. I think
Sure.
that's one of those things that when I think about it, that's a really good way to raise the ceiling but still reward
Mm-hmm.
knowledge of the job and stuff, right? For like positionals, I think that would really help casual players if they did something to kind of
If
say,
they could-
hey.
Yeah, better see it.
I mean,
I
even
mean,
with these arrows, though, they do create landmarks on the circle that do indicate something closer to a flank, right? So,
Mhm.
as opposed to before where you just had the open backside that was back for rear positionals and then that little tiny pointy bit at the top, this does actually give you a visual indicator on the sides as to
Mhm.
where generally a sort of flanking position would be. So I don't think it's bad. I think it's actually pretty
No.
good, and there's definitely been times where there's been a lot of people stacked up on like an enemy's butt or
I
something.
mean, realistically though, that flank actually comes down quite a bit more than you would think. So
Yeah.
It does, but it's kind of between now where those side arrows are and
Yeah.
where that
Mhm.
open back is. So if you position yourself in between, you're good for flanks.
Yeah, you're good.
So I think it does give people more of a visual marker, and also makes it so that, yeah, like in the moment there might be less confusion with all the effects and whatever else is happening as to where you are sort of in relation to a boss. It's not a bad thing. It's not an outstanding thing. It's just a thing.
I mean, it'll just be another way to know, okay, this is too far forward or too far back for like wedges, or maybe you could use it for things like earth shakers. You know, you need to get next to the boss, we'll go above the stupid extra triangle thing that shows you where it's facing. You could use it for a lot of landmarks, like you're saying. As a caster, I don't need it at all, and I personally think positionals are easier than they ever have been. Let's not get into that. However,
That's true.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool.
So that was it for patch 5.55. Again, April 13th. It's coming up real quick. But that wasn't all that they talked about. They also dropped some new details for FanFest. Again, that's going to be May 15th and 16th. And so what they announced here, so before we've had that there were going to be some Final Fantasy IV themed minions. We're going to get that Lunar Whale mount. We're also going to get Orchestrion roll packs as well, which is kind of cool. So there's going to be 3 of them. The first one is going to be based on the Pulse album. So that'll include Rise, Through the Maelstrom, Neath Dark Waters, What Angel Wakes Me, and Sunrise. And then there will be a piano version, which is going to be based on the Scions and Sinners album that just came out. So that's going to have Invincible, Tomorrow and Tomorrow, Return to Oblivion, What Angel Wakes Me, and A Long Fall. And then, of course, the band pack, which will have Equilibrium, What Angel Wakes Me, Shadowbringers, Blinding Indigo, and Insatiable. So that's cool. That's really cool. Some really good stuff in there. They also kind of gave us a simple breakdown of what to expect from the FanFest. So it's going to be 2 days. The first day is going to be obviously the keynote, and then Welcome to Naoki's Room. How do you like Heidelin, which it looks like it's going to be a thing that the JP community team is running. A dev panel.
Over easy.
Yeah. A dev panel, and then the piano concert. Day 2, we'll start off with the live letter, which will have talk session with Ishikawa-san. So if you have questions, you can submit those on the official forum. They will
Tell
then
me
have
your
their
story.
Glamored to Life showcase, which will be like the cosplay contest. There will be a live Q&A. Again, they'll be answering questions. Now, for this one, I think it was this one. It sounds like they might try and take questions via Zoom.
Yeah. It's terrifying to me. But okay.
Godspeed, people managing that. That sounds horrible.
Yep. But
like, it's cool, but okay.
Also sounds dangerous.
Yes, very dangerous.
I can't imagine how they're.
I mean, I'm sure they'll be
handling that.
Yeah.
Having seen how various companies, to some degree, are like handling various interactive elements behind the scenes, and having great faith and hope and confidence in Square Enix, I believe in you.
It's one of those things, like, it'll either go okay or like horribly wrong, right?
But I'm sure they'll be doing like vetting behind the scenes.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But
probably people pop on for a question that's already been vetted and stuff. I mean, we'll just see.
Even if they vet it though, like, I mean, you end up with the Blizzard Diablo mobile guy, right? Like, so we'll see. Like,
I mean, I think they're just, and they talked about it a little bit. They're trying to do the best they can to create the
absolutely
interactive event. And I mean, even when you think about it at an event, anybody can yell anything that they want in the audience, you know? So it is one of those things where, I mean, I'm sure people will be a little bit debriefed. I have faith, community. Nobody say absolute garbage nonsense.
Maybe they'll just record it ahead of time. Be like, all right, we're hitting record. Ask your question, hit stop, and then they just play the little video clip.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah.
Don't embarrass Yoshi P.
Yeah.
Don't make Dad just embarrassed of you.
Yeah.
Don't shame us.
Then they'll have flashback with the cast, which will be a discussion with some of the voice actors. And then that'll be followed by the band performance. They say most of these will have English translations. obviously, if they're doing a big chat with like the JP voice cast, probably not. If they're doing that panel with like the JP community team, probably not. Naoki's room, traditionally they've had these at events, has not been in English either. So I mean, you're probably looking at for the English breakdown, keynote, the dev panel, the live letter, and the Q&A is probably what will for sure be available in English. In addition to the stage events, though, they're also going to be doing some digital activities, which is it's a nice touch, given that things are the way that they are right now. The first one will be a Moogle Treasure Trove Fan Fest edition. So no idea what is going to be available when they do this. So keep an eye out for that. They're going to do limited time group pose frames and stickers. So you can get like, FanFest frames and stuff for GPose. With that, they're going to be running a screenshot campaign. So you can use those and enter that. They're going to have the Usnair Challenge. They say learn all about the fun challenge that offers a chance at in-game rewards. We don't know anything else about that yet. They have this was nice. Eorzea Cafe at home. Enjoy homemade Eorzean dishes with video tutorials of select recipes from the Eorzea Cafe. That's really nice.
Teach me how to cook Yoshi P.
Yeah, I just teach me how to make the drink with the beaver in it, or I think they had a burger that looked like a beaver. They've done a lot of beaver dishes since Shadowbringers came out, but that's cool. Art contest, obviously the entry for that closed already, and then there's the cosplay as well. So lots of stuff to do, which is really nice. Again, that'll be May 15th and 16th, so that also is gonna be here before we know it. So lots of cool, exciting stuff to talk about over the next couple months. Yeah, between the patch and the fan fest. So please look forward to it. And that's it. That's the list. That's the things everything that we were gonna talk about. That's all of it. Bye. No, I'm kidding.
The end.
I started the show weird. I'm gonna end it weird. Bye.
He hits the button. That's it. We're not even on air anymore.
See you later, Bert. Yeah. I mean, anything else we need to? I think that's pretty much it, right?
There's one little thing.
One little thing.
For people who are waiting for the ultimate, they showed it just a little bit. The Dragonstar War ultimate. We got 2 screenshots. That's what I saw. Don't know where it was in the live letter. They have 2 screenshots of it. That's it.
They did.
I missed.
And it's not coming till 6.1.
Yes, 6.1.
Yeah.
It does look a little bit like the vault.
Yeah, it's on the bridge on the vault. And I don't.
I thought they were. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, my brain did a thing where I'm like, oh, that's the new Explorer mode, and now thinking about it after processing it, my brain's like, you're an idiot. That would be a level 60 dungeon. Makes sense now.
All they showed was a couple of pictures of what looks to be the arena or a cutscene before it, because there's some people.
Oh no!
I'm not sure.
If they're going to the vault.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it does seem like knights are obviously gonna be a part of it. Like from just what we've seen in the initial picture and things and where it is, and
but who else was at the vault? Rook.
A lot of people?
Yeah, I'm like, what?
What do you mean?
Our good boy.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, but I can't imagine that he's going to be a villain in this.
Well, no, but they could pull him in for something.
They could.
He jumps in to help you survive against like a big beam attack or something, and he dies again.
They could do that to us. That's what I was thinking too.
Oh.
I kind of hope for that, actually. I'm making a terrible face, but really, no, that'd be great.
They have to if they're gonna. I think they're gonna.
I mean, it is iconic with the vault. I could see it. There was also, I don't know if this was a recent interview or what that I was reading. I wish I had the actual source on it. But there was a little bit further discussion that Yoshida-san did somewhat recently about this whole timing with Ultimate for anybody who might have missed it, and discussing a little bit more what it meant behind the scenes as far as like working overtime and crunch for the devs.
And I saw that clip. I don't know which interview it was from. but essentially what it comes down to is the team was like, hey, like, we could make this work, but you basically have to let us push that OT as far as we legally can. And Yoshida's like, nah, dude, like, get some sleep.
Yeah, I mean,
the
what he
idea
said-
of straining yourself to get content done, like, if we're looking at the content, and this is what he said, like, if we're looking at this and we think that we could have done better, people are going to realize that. And so that's, yeah, Yoshida, man, just continues to impress and amaze with just how amazing he is. Like, really.
And
like,
especially
in a
now,
world right now with so many companies crunching just like crazy, Yoshida's like, it's cool, man. Like, don't worry about it. We'll get it done. Like, no need to, bust ass on it. Like, it's cool. Like,
yeah, and I mean,
props,
like, he brought up a
huge
really good
props.
point. Just saying, like, we don't want to set a precedent, even here or in our industry, that, like, in order to get this done, you have to break yourselves to do it. And, or we also don't want to have to delay the expansion just, by any more time because of pandemic stuff in order to get this done. And I agree. I think that it shows a lot of strength and resilience, even when a community may be really upset, to say, like, no, we have to realize that what happens behind the scenes is just as important for the overall product quality and lifestyle of our developers and our player base, to make this decision to do that. So while I know a lot of people have been disappointed, I think it was good to get a little bit more clarity and discussion on that. And I'm sure you can find the interview if you just do like a quick look up. It's something that's been fairly fresh.
Yeah,
but
I mean, the idea, I mean, just if you're one of the people that were upset about Ultimate, right? Take a minute, think about what
Don't
you
be
do
a
as a
Karen.
profession. Right? Like, okay, we could get this project done, but working from home, you're only going to see your family 3 hours a day. You're not going to get like any sleep. You're going to feel like crap. Or we can let you enjoy life a little bit and just move it back. Which option would you take? It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, the thing about crunch, and I hesitate to talk about this because it's kind of not quite a conflict of interest because I'm going through crunch right now. However, the bill always comes due, right? You can't crunch and then not lose something, right? That's something that Yoshi P knows, right? If he were to crunch at this point, they'd lose some stuff for the next expansion, but they'd also lose they'll start burning people out. Everything will start to be worse.
And I
Look at
think
Cyberpunk.
Especially on a piece of content like Ultimate,
yes,
like there are so many things you need to get just right. I mean, because the last thing we need is like that new Ultimate to come out before the expansion and people clear it in like 3 hours. Like that's not what anybody wants, right? So
or it's impossible.
Yoshida is such a wonderful human being, and I just huge props to
don't embarrass Yoshi P.
Right? I just I know that there's some people that are upset. There's some people that are really upset.
Yeah.
But crunch sucks. Like it's you always hear stories about it in the industry, and it's never for a good reason.
Nope.
So that he made the decision to do this knowing that he's gonna get that that small percentage of players absolutely furious at him. He's putting the health of his team and the well-being of the team and their families, especially right now with everybody working from home, above everybody else, and that's awesome. I love to see that.
So there's this picture of Alphino and Estinian.
Okay, that's a
quick segue
there,
big jump, but
yeah,
like
all right.
I scrolled back up the page and this picture is just so precious to me because it's Alphino looking up at Estinian like, one day I'm gonna be cool like you. They even have like the same color scheme outfit on. It's like his hero or something.
I can't wait to be tall. It'll help me swim better.
Man, one day I'm gonna be twice as tall as I am now, just like you.
That's all.
That's him. That's how he talks.
That's fair. That's adorable. That's cute, and I love it. There has been a little bit of talk, and I think everybody's been curious because Yoshida-san did say that there was going to be some sort of major NPC character that is going to play a large role in this next patch, and that will also play a large role in the expansion in Endwalker. And I'm curious. I mean, I've heard a lot of guesses
Tiamat.
about. Well, Tiamat, that's true. Actually, that could be a thing. That could
Tiamat.
actually be it.
We're going to the
A lot of
moon, stars, space travel. Tiamat. Done.
A lot of people were theorizing it could be Alphino or Alisaie's dad, or somebody that might be taking this
Neurons,
from Alliance.
Yeah, we have talked about that. Yeah.
Tiamat actually, I didn't even put that together with it, but I could see her actually being the character, which would be super cool.
Yeah.
I mean, the way I see it, right? Like, something big has to be going down for Tiamat to come out
Right.
of Azazel. Obviously, Midgardstormer, not lately, but with Heaven's Word, right? He was a huge part of that transition, and so to get back to him, we go through the Brood. So we go from Tiamat, bring that back around to Midgardstormer and Endwalker. We talk about the Brood a little bit. Maybe 6.1 we start to get into more dragon stuff. I don't know, but I think Tiamat is a really good vehicle to both ride to the new dungeon and to
Exactly.
for the narrative. Yeah, but I mean, again though, like there are the way that they write this game. I mean, there are so many threads that they
Ivory's comment. She said she'd stay in prison till the end of the world, and here we are.
Yep.
That's
That's the end of the world.
Good.
Ooh, good catch.
I mean, like I said, the dragons have to do something now, or they have to leave, right? Like that's the choice. Like they're either gonna die along with us, with whatever's going on, or they leave.
Deep. Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Girl, you had a good comment.
All right. I think, is there anything else? I think we've covered everything and then some now.
I think so.
I think we're good.
There was a minion shown that's a bonfire that you can pull out. You can just put it on the ground, and you and your friends can
There's
just
a little.
hang out.
There was a little pyramid.
I've been
little
asking
pyramid
for
guy.
that
Mhm.
for 500 years, no joke. I'm
the
so
bonfire.
pleased. How do I get this bonfire?
It's a drop from Delibram Savage.
There you
That's
go.
fine. I'm in. Let's
Sure,
go.
I'll do it.
Hell
Unique,
yes.
untradeable. Have fun. It's a 2%
That's
drop
fine.
rate. I don't know.
Forever,
Knowing
I will
Square
run.
Enix, it's gonna be a drop from like the final boss in the near raid or some random. Like,
Who
good
knows?
job. You've saved whatever this is. Have a bonfire.
No, you're gonna head up to the cloudy thunder place where the Aerie is. I don't remember what that zone's called.
The Airy.
No, the
Oh,
Aerie's
that's
there.
No, not
The zone is something else.
Oh, you're talking about yeah,
not
it's
Sea
up top.
Clouds. The other
The
one.
myth. The myth.
Mist.
Mm-hmm. The churning mist.
Turning
Turning
Mist.
That's it.
That's the
We're
one.
gonna go up there. We're gonna hang out with Alphino and Estinian again around a bonfire, just like we did in Heaven's Word. And then the Estinian's just gonna be like, "Here you go, buddy.
Mhm.
This is your tender kit or whatever to start your own fire."
Rook is getting way too emotional over this.
That would be so cute, though.
I mean,
Yeah.
we've got the trailer and Alphino in it just brings me back to his Crystal Braves failed,
Mhm.
Oh.
try to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
a leader. Like, I think
Mhm.
this is
Absolutely.
him actually becoming a leader. I hope, learning what he needs to learn, getting pushed
Character
pretty hard
growth.
by Fordola,
Do you think Alisaie disappearing is like I don't know, she just goes somewhere. She's not dead, obviously. She can't be dead. She's in the CG, but she ends up going somewhere via Sparkles apparently, and he's just really upset because his sister is captured. Just like
Mhm.
she was really upset when he was missing.
I mean, one of the things is that part of the trailer could be before the beginning of Endwalker.
You
Right?
shut your mouth.
It could be, just saying.
I was
You
feeling really
stop.
good about her safety levels. What have you done?
Stop. No.
I know. I'm just saying.
No.
They could do it.
What have you done?
I mean, were we as the Warrior of Light in an alleyway in Kugane and fought as a samurai? Not really in that time. You know what I mean? Like,
No, Arbor did.
I mean, that Ishtola and Urianger watched it burn down before we even got to the first. That
Don't
that
like
part of that
your
trailer
logic.
was before. I'm just saying.
Don't like your logic at all.
Yeah, this is unacceptable, Aldino. No,
I don't want it to happen, but I'm just saying.
I will be so okay. I'm just gonna be real with everybody here. This is a space of truth and honesty. I will lose my mind if they kill Alice and Alphino gets to have male pain about how my sister died. I will lose it. I will.
Yes.
Look, I have come full circle with Alphino. I do. I think we have a lot of potential here, especially like you were saying. I mean, this is a great moment. And if something, Alice is sort of separated from him.
Yeah.
He has relied on her for so much. For him to step into himself, like, absolutely, that's a huge thing. And we've seen these strong, powerful Elysian forces in his life that have encouraged him like this, be it Isael and then also Estinian. And Estinian's coming back. So him taking that journey, having these, like, parent figures, growing into himself, becoming the leader that he tried to be and he played at for so long in sort of memory of his grandfather, but now he himself actually can step out from that eclipse.
The Estinian
That
stuff
lunar eclipse.
does.
That lunar eclipse.
I'm not done yet. Give me 1 second.
Go.
All of that is great, but if all of that comes at the cost of Alice being dead,
Right.
I will have 3 podcasts worth of words up in here.
And we'll have 5. And we'll have 5 podcasts about it.
He is upset. He's upset he couldn't heal somebody. It's probably not her. But
Yeah, I don't think so.
then he makes a new healing job.
Yeah. Or, he goes back to his father. And makes a new
My
healing job.
arcanist healing was not, my physic was not good enough. I must make weird little needle robots now.
It took me years and years and years,
That's
but I figured out that physics
interesting.
is shit. So I made needle
That's an
robots.
interesting line to draw. That's very good.
That's why I was doing this.
Hopefully it was Uriange.
Shut up.
It was some Garlean muck. I think.
I'm
It just
not
looked
giving
like
you
a
crap for the
generic-
Alize stuff. Granted, I too love Alize. Don't give me crap about Uriange. Brooke, I'm sorry. Please continue.
No, it's okay. It looked like a Garlean,
Yeah.
but
No.
my question was Louis Sois a summoner? Do we know what he was canonically?
I think
He
he was
used
a
to- Old.
conjurer?
Yes,
But I'm
staff.
not sure.
He said old.
Yeah, I did say
He was old.
he was an old guy. That was his job,
Yeah.
old guy.
It's so crusty and old, yeah.
His job stone was actually just a pair of dentures.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure as much as she isn't, Fordola is the first summoner, technically, in the
Interesting.
storyline.
I guess we could say that he's always kind of tread the line of Arcanist, right?
Yes,
Where
yeah.
he has, I think, had some things that are both scholar-like and some things
I
that
don't
are
know that he ever
summoner-like.
had a familiar though, so he's probably more conjurer.
Luswa, yeah.
Yeah, Luswa.
Yeah.
And I was just curious because with him being such a huge role and role model in Alphino's life, and I'm sure we're going to probably get more of this if we do end up going to Charline and everything else, right? And it seems like the twins are going to be a focus of character growth as we kind of bring this whole thing full circle, which is totally appropriate because they were the first characters that we actually met in the beginning of the game.
They were like they were we need to reboot this game. Also, here are the 2 new characters that are going to help carry this entire thing.
Yeah. And I love that we have kind of grown with them as a community, as a player base, and all of this stuff as we come full circle here. But I was curious about how the legacy of his family might have affected his class and what Sage means to him, which I'm sure that we will get more of. They said with like quests.
Yeah.
He was likely the greatest mage of his day. That's all they say about that. They say he was well versed in ancient prophecies, so maybe something related to that. And delighted in tinkering.
I mean, he was an Archon.
Yeah. Delighted in tinkering with magic items, and also that he really likes sweets. That's all I say. They don't name his job.
I mean, he had a book because he gave it to them.
So he wasn't a
Yeah.
conjurer. He might have been a
That's
secret
true.
like candy striper. Like
You're
Yeah.
right.
I mean, maybe he had
Yeah.
multiple jobs. We do.
Yeah.
Mars.
Yeah, he could have been a master of magic. He could have,
Yeah.
But he
dabbled.
definitely did have the
Arcane.
staff, the hubda
I-
hubda that I
I
Samani.
think it's
yeah.
yeah. Though you have to wonder, to a degree, though, did he have that because it was a job relation, or did he have that because it was one of the keys?
Right.
Probably
It was
because it
a-
was one of the keys.
It was a magic item that he liked.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. He just collected
Right.
them.
It was yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Like, to me, I really feel like, yeah, he failed to heal. He knows that he needs to do some growth. He's gonna find Sage from somewhere, probably Charlene, probably his father. That's my money. like his father's doing something similar, and he's like, I could do that, but better.
I also, it depends on how they take the story, but I could see it right with Alphino specifically, and his character arc, bringing back Estinian, I think is really a full circle for just kind of how everything has gone, and so, I could almost also see that coming back around in place of Mom and Dad.
Yeah,
because we're not going there, right?
Yeah.
We'll have that, and that's the role model, fathery, older brother figure or whatever for him.
They would totally pull one over on us if this whole time we've been thinking Shoreline is where we're going, but with the Tiamat connection, we're actually going to be going to remind me the name of the draconic
Mericidia.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Who knows?
The full trailer is just that the world map, and it's burning and stuff, and then it zooms in on Thavnir, and then it just goes down further, and it's like Mericidia.
Yeah,
I want Mericidia at some point.
that'd be cool.
A lot of people do.
Yeah.
We'll just have to wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe 6.1 is sure. I can't imagine they would add new areas.
Yeah, I don't know.
With a 0.1, but I don't know. We'll have to see.
They haven't,
we'll know.
But sometimes they surprise us.
You know, May 15th, we'll probably have a better idea of where we're going.
Give us the stuff, Yoshi P.
All right. So that is going to do it for this episode of Aetheryte Radio. If you want, why you not work again? Why do you do this to me?
I love that I can hear you press the button.
Straight up. All right. I hate this thing. It works when I want it to, and then it doesn't work when I want it to. Which button? Right? No, that's not the wrong one. I have all these buttons, and they're mapped for things. Which is the one? This is the one. Okay. If you want, you can email us, aetheryteradio@gamerscape.com. You can tweet at us at aetheryteradio. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Discord at Gamerscape, discord.gg/Gamerscape for the easy link there. We have an Aetheryte Radio channel on there where you can talk to us about the show or whatever we talked about on the show. That is going to do it for us for this week. April 13th, patch 5.5. It'll be here before we know it. Thank you very much for everybody for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Goodbye.
Yep.
Goodbye.